Time for another draft-a-lon here. Wait, nope. Try draft-a-lon, but I got to get the branding right. Here on the Splash Play channel, where we're going to dig in and draft into 3 biggest tournaments in best ball, competing for $4.5 million in total today. That includes the Underdog Best Ball Mania tournament, which we're going to start off with here. DraftKings Millionaire, Drafters Main Event Championship. We're hitting them all here in the quest for the big money to rob the bank here in 2025. And let's get into it. I am already in the draft room here, picking very cozily in the back half of the draft room. Got a bunch of guys without badges next to me, so we'll see if this means good things, if it means bad things here. But either way, here to get my action in. This is actually draft number. Let me see where I'm at, because I think it's like 93 for me on BBM. That sounds about right. Draft number 93 for me in Best Ball Mania. Of course, Underdog's flagship tournament. So we'll see what we get today. Training camp's going on. I haven't started the training camp videos in the morning because there really has been a lot of exciting news. Quentin Johnston caught a 50-yard touchdown, a 25-yard touchdown. Obviously, that means he's a great play now. But in reality, him losing Mike Williams, getting more guaranteed run at the X, at least till Trey Harris takes him over at some point in the future, whether it's this year, next year, who knows. Quentin Johnston, another player here moving up ADP-wise. He's got interesting news about him. Besides that, not a lot to really think about. Chris Godwin, people are staring at his ankles in photos because his ankle looks a little bit swollen. Might also be the fact that he had a metal plate put into his leg, which I believe is there permanently. So that could be part of why his ankle's a little bit larger than usual. But it's been kind of I would say a slow rollout for training camp news. Nothing too exciting. Guys like O'Marion Hampton getting first team run, that matters a little bit for sure. But nothing that really changes the landscape. Mostly stuff we already knew. Speaking of stuff we already knew, people love running backs on Underdog, so a bunch of RBs go in a row here, including Ashton Genty at pick 8. Malik Nabers coming back to pick 10, certainly not a major ADP discount. We'll scoop up Malik Nabers here, a guy who does fit that much ballyhooed criteria I talk about, earning 30% or more on target per out run. Malik Nabers cleared that by a good amount. I believe he was actually closer to 35. Malik Nabers, not Malik Heath. Tell you what, he did not command a lot of targets last year. I think I'm realizing by just control effing Malik, there's too many Maliks in the league. Pause, no racist. 32% target per out run for Malik Nabers last year. So above 30 in that safe area. Guys like him and Drake London certainly stand out around the turn for those reasons. Devon Achane comes back here to pick 15. Again, not a big discount, but I am happy to get Devon Achane here, a guy that I'm trying to get more of because I have a ton of Derrick Henry through all my early drafts, no matter what actual tournament it's been in, BBM, all the other smaller Underdog tournaments named after various dogs. I'm getting a lot of Derrick Henry. So a Devon Achane, Malik Nabers start here, minor ADP discounts, but nothing noteworthy. Pretty standard start. Thought maybe having the badgeless guys around the turn would give us something silly. Nothing silly yet. Shout out to the chat, though. Appreciate you guys like Chung hanging out. Our guy Matthew hanging out. Some OGs on the channel. Braden hanging out. Appreciate all you guys who are here. Of course, we'll be hitting DraftKings next. Drafters at the end of the video. So your 3 big tournaments, if you want to get some action with me today, you can feel free to do that on stream, unless you're one of the weirdos, in which case I encourage you to go watch Davis Maddock. I don't know. Is he streaming right now? Go watch somebody else if you're a weirdo. But if you're a cool guy or gal, feel free to hang out here. We'll see what we can do. Yeah, for training camp so far, really nothing too crazy. The Athletic, I feel like the reports have been pretty slow relative to what we're expecting, which is that eventual steady stream of getting a lot of updates about who's running with the first team. And that's really the biggest thing here. You'll see highlights, and actually, I think some people out there were doing bits yesterday where there was an old Brandon Cooks highlight from the Cowboys that was floating around. People going like, oh, draft George Pickens. He's doing crazy stuff. And in reality, it was somebody trolling. That's sort of the stage of things we're in right now, where there's not a lot of concrete reporting. Again, for me, I swear by the Athletic being the main thing you should be reading every day. It's one of those things for me where I do a lot less reading book-wise during the NFL season because I'm reading basically entire books from these beat reporters every day. That should be your job. The Athletic actually has the live updates page. Let me see if I can link it in the chat. It's on the wrong thing for me to link it. But I would honestly recommend bookmarking this page for you guys out there. I'll try to get this in on YouTube now. Hold on. But basically, the Athletic has a page where they have all the updates that come in real time. And I would recommend checking that one out. There we go. That's the link. I don't know if it has like a weird me-specific link attached to it, but it's linked in the YouTube chat if you want. That's what I try to filter through a couple times each day just to make sure I'm not missing anything along the way. I also put in a news document for myself that I'll share with you guys at some point when I have enough stuff in there. Trying to figure out a format for it that'll allow me to do the news videos in the morning better. But really, at this point of best ball, your best thing you do for yourself if you are new to the game, and I'm not sure how many of you guys are new to the game that are watching this stream, but if you're new to the game, keeping up with the news is like the best thing you do for yourself, and really being aware, siphoning out what's real news versus what's that Brandon Cooks highlight from a couple years ago that people are passing off as George Pickens that gets people excited. And like, that's what it is. Like literally a guy catching a ball wide open on air, get people excited on Twitter. That shit doesn't matter. What matters is who's running ahead of who's guaranteed time on the field, who's going to start with a role, who's going to have to earn a role. Knowing those things is the most important thing you do. Jane Daniels here goes, pick 32. This guy without a badge doing a very balanced build, which can be tricky sometimes if you don't handle it right. We've got Achane, we've got Nabers. If I take Terry McLaurin here, no shot of getting Jaden back because he's already gone. You know what? Let's do some RB picking. I'll go Breece Hall here. Breece Hall guy I'm not terribly huge on because I do think basically you're not pricing in right now. This current ADP is the fact that Braylon Allen's going to be in the mix, that Isaiah Davis will also be in the mix. I would say Braylon Allen, the one I'm more worried about as a guy who is a power back that can maybe do some things Breece Hall can't. But certainly Breece Hall can do some things that a guy like Braylon Allen can't, catching the ball more, being a guy that the Jets beat reporters are kind of comparing more to the Jahmyr Gibbs in this offense. That's been a thing that's been common for some of the Jets beat reporters in terms of the roles that they expect, where David Montgomery type going to be more Braylon Allen, Jahmyr Gibbs type going to be more Breece Hall. So if I'm talking myself into Breece Hall, that'd be the case for it. And the big issue for me with Breece Hall is I think he's a much better click at pick 39. But frankly, I take a ton of Kyren Williams. So trying to get some Breece Hall in this range, given I view those guys as similar plays, is probably the move for me. McLaurin comes all the way back. Mike Evans comes back as well. I am sure that the drafter next to me, the Jaden Daniels early reacher, would love to get McLaurin back, and I'll give it to him today. I think Mike Evans a better play without having Jaden involved. McLaurin currently holding out, obviously a big thing going on for him. He's apparently willing to get traded. Nobody's going to trade for him at this stage of things, to be my guess. It's mostly just kind of posturing for leverage. But at this point for McLaurin, he's going to fall ADP-wise. I don't know that he should. Of course, the Jaden drafter doesn't take him. I try to do something nice for once for somebody in a room and go, hey, you got Jaden Daniels, took him early, maybe stack him up. And no, the guy goes DK Metcalf ahead of ADP. DK Metcalf goes safely in the 50s pretty often. This guy takes him at 41, but whatever. My team so far, though, 2 receivers, 2 RBs, which generally is the kind of build I like to do when I'm picking around the turn or in this area, pick 10. I would say function the same thing. We got Malik Nabers, Mike Evans, our receivers, Devon Achane, Breece Hall is our RBs. So nice balanced build here, which has been the theme of 2025 for me. And I would say for you guys out there, probably should be the theme as well. Let's see. Other things to note, go through. So the Rashee Rice stuff, I feel like it's one of those things that it's kind of hard to make a real guess as to what you want to do with that. I've talked about it on stream already, so I don't know that it's worth like a separate update or anything. But it seems like the most recent projections, I know ETR moved their data to make it more like a 4 to 6 game projection for suspension. Rashee Rice still full go in training camp. No legal stuff keeping him from doing that. He'll serve his jail time at some point in the next 5 years. It doesn't have to be right now. So for how that looks right now for Rashee Rice, I've been getting him in the late 40s. I think that price tag is where the click becomes a little bit harder to avoid. If you're reaching really early for Chris Olave or you're taking, Rashee Rice, if he's here, I'd probably do that. In this room, Rashee Rice went to pick 35. So this room is kind of taking the falling knife a little bit early. But Rashee Rice, I think if you're getting him in the late 40s, if you get him in the 50s, great. I think that's where the true price should be. A lot of the rankings out there have him mid-50s. I'd put him, I would say late 40s would be where I feel more comfortable with it. But you have to have a good receiver room around him. You have to be able to absorb him missing potentially a month and a half. If I had to guess, and I'll put the over under. I'd put the over under 3.5 games. I think he'll miss 4. So I would take the over on that, but I don't think he misses 6. Personal lean from that though, just based on how domestic violence in the past, at least the possibility of it for rookies coming in. It's been a 5-game suspension for Rashee Rice. I just don't think criminal driving, I don't know, without actually hurting anybody in a serious way or killing anybody, I guess in particular. I don't think you got that much time. But I don't know, we'll see. Obviously, this is all guesswork at this point. But for Rashee Rice, no matter what, I mean, whether he misses 6 or 4, I would still take him around and pick 50 is really the main thing for me. Kenneth Walker getting steamed up. James Cook. So James Cook, reports coming out today that he might be choosing to hold in with where he is right now. For James Cook, it's been the worry I've had this entire offseason. Not so much that it would affect him not playing this year because James Cook's going to come to terms. He needs to get his vested year. That's always the thing that matters in these holdout situations. but he did, at one point say that he wanted 15 mil a year. I don't think he's worth that. I think the Bills would certainly know he's not worth that. They'll probably compromise if they do give him a new deal. 10 to 13 would be my guess. But as it is right now for James Cook, the fact that he is risking a holdout, he'll fall on ADP a little bit because people are just going to panic about it. We got DJ Moore here, Travis Hunter here, Zay Flowers here. Nothing terribly exciting for me. I'll go DJ Moore. I mean, we are 15 picks after ADP for DJ Moore. Travis Hunter, Zay Flowers right at ADP. DJ Moore, I feel like not a sexy click for me at this point, as I've talked about. I've got general concerns they start to feed his role more to a Luther Burden. Really nothing this Ben Johnson regime is going to have a whole lot tied to DJ Moore. The GM Ryan Poles did initially bring in DJ Moore, gave him new money. Did he just get extended as well? So maybe that's a little bit more of a guy who'll cape for him. But for Ben Johnson, we've already seen him scold DJ Moore about the sulking on the sidelines from last year. He did a little bit in OTAs. They already kind of tried to nip it in the bud. I worry about DJ Moore a little bit, but if he's going to go at 58 in this room, I think you just got to take him. And we also got Rome Odunze coming back, so I think I'm just going to do that. A Rome Odunze, DJ Moore start, the Chicago duo, alongside Malik Nabers, Mike Evans, and RB, Devon Achane, Breece Hall. No elite QB here, but I'm fine with that. Nice little bet on Chicago. I like the players we've taken so far. I like this balanced build, and I think it worked out well, as it often does when you're picking at the end of the round. Shout out to all you guys hanging out here in chat. Appreciate guys like Jack tuning in, as like Dwayne as well. Yabba Dabba Dizzle. I don't know. Is that Fred Flintstone mixed with Snoop Dogg? I don't really know what we're doing with that one, but shout out to all you guys hanging out here. Appreciate you guys here. Again, drafts, the Try Draftlons doing Tuesdays and Fridays now. 12 p.m. is the goal Eastern time on those periods to get the drafts in Best Ball Mania, on DraftKings Millionaire, on Drafters Best Ball Main Event. And of course, the show is presented by Drafters, so make sure to check it out. If you're not playing on there, make sure to start playing on Drafters. A great site to get different action in. Also a site that I've had some of my best finishes in the last few years, with frankly a lot less effort than I put in on other sites. You see me drafting constantly in Underdog. This year you see me drafting constantly on DraftKings. In previous years, I've put in that same amount of entries on Drafters just on stream and have finished top 100 in their main tournament, top 10 in their playoff best ball tournament with only 3 entries. That's what you get on Drafters. They get more upside if you know what you're doing in a draft. So check it out for yourself. Full point PPR, of course, will be doing it later on in the video. And they are the presenting sponsor of Splash Play during this best ball summer. So check out Drafters, drafters.com. Download the app. You guys know the deal for Drafters. Use that promo code SPLASH for a $100 deposit match. Lots of rake back stuff on there as well. Have you been to the Eliminator at all? I did one draft with it. Not really something I want to spend a lot of time with. I've already got currently 60 slow drafts going. I've still got to do another 50 plus BBM. So I'm trying to kind of let that come to me more in August in terms of timing, because we do want to make sure if you are a person out there new to best ball, you'll see a lot of the guys on Twitter that go like, I've already maxed BBM and it's mid-July. Not what you want to do. I certainly have put in more mid-July by this point of things, rather. It's July 22nd right now. I've got 93 entries in right here, including this one we're doing on stream. That's more than I'd want to do. I think normally you want to have about half your bullets heading into August. At the very least 50, so I'm more towards the latter. But I would say right now, the main thing you're waiting for is just getting that news in for this stuff. The Eliminator, though, it's just a tournament that I think is interesting. I think it's compelling to have basically a cash game every week. That said, it's going to come entirely down to pod luck. I think you draft a team, you're trying to be more RB heavy, less wide receiver heavy up top. Personally, that's how I view it. Dog, come up. Please don't knock down equipment. Go. Kidding. Come on. There you go. Okay. The dog is next to me. The dog has to be in here whenever I'm doing 3 hours of streams, because my wife has calls, and you can't have a dog when you're doing calls. You have to have a dog when you're doing content. That's it's the helpful things here. Pick coming up here. Would be an RB spot. Still can be. Jerry Jeudy falling in this room. Not my favorite click at all in a room, but I do think him being available is certainly noteworthy. Aaron Jones here, though, feel like that props up our RB room a little bit better. Brian Robinson, wouldn't hate picking him here either. But at this point, feel like for me, Aaron Jones, a player I like a lot around pick 80. So he's an easy click here. So 3 RBs, 4 wide receivers, pretty balanced build so far. Well, I'm not going to say what I'm thinking in my head. Hopefully we'll get Caleb Williams back. But I don't think taking him at 87 is ever going to be the option for me. So that's fine. Jerry Jeudy comes all the way back here. Brandon Ayuk here as well. We could probably absorb him as wide receiver 5 at this point. I think we just take Jerry Jeudy. I'm never going to take Jerry Jeudy very often at ADP. That said, if he's at pick 87, 20 spots later, we need a fifth receiver. I think that's it. So team so far is a 0-3-5-0, 3 running backs, 5 wide receivers. We got Devon Achane, Breece Hall, Aaron Jones. At receiver, Malik Nabers, Mike Evans, DJ Moore, Romo Dunze, Jerry Jeudy. So 5 receivers here, really big values on DJ Moore and Jerry Jeudy. This is the thing I talk about a lot, where people always worry about combos. I know some of the guys in our Discord, of course, the Splash Play Discord, if you join the YouTube channel, click the link in the description, you get added automatically to the Discord. It's a good place to hang out, a place to get off your football takes and obviously talk about whatever. People talk about speed dating. I don't know. So whatever the fuck you want in there if you're paying money. Well, not whatever the fuck you want. Don't drop slurs. Save that for the other Discords out there. But for basically what it is right now, and people saying this too, thought I'd take Igbuka and Baker here. I still am down on Igbuka. I think that's really the main thing I want to convey about this stuff is that I like Chris Godwin a lot still. If people are going to panic about the ankle, I'm going to be annoyed losing CLV, both pre-draft, where I was taking Chris Godwin in like the 50s reliably over and over again. Still been taking him 60s, 70s, wherever he falls. If he goes to 80, I'll be a little bit bummed because I really think, to me, he's a much better click than guys like Pittman, guys like Ayuk with the injury that he has. You got to remember, Chris Godwin's not on the PUP list. So that's a really big thing right away, that he's not even on this list, that they could take him off immediately if they wanted. They're not keeping him on there. So I imagine he's going to go sooner than not. But I like Chris Godwin a lot. Igbuka, I think, is going to be safely blocked by Chris Godwin, even though people think Igbuka is going to come in, play all over the place. And they certainly could do that. I think Jalen McMillan's a much more natural outside receiver than Igbuka is. And this is me, maybe knowing ball too much or trying to know ball too much, if you want to say that I'm wrong about it. I'm just not crazy about Igbuka. Like, I understand he commanded a lot of targets when OSU was basically depleted, had nobody else left of any real talent at receiver besides, the young guys coming in. And certainly he had that veteran presence from Igbuka being there for a few more years. It's part of why he was targeted so well. But he's just like a slot forward player. I'm never really super stoked about slot forward players in these situations for the most part where they're kind of overpriced. And when you have a really great slot like Chris Godwin there, who they just paid 66 mil to, injuries, whatever, I don't really care. Godwin was great last year. So Godwin's great. But I think that really, for me and how it looks, fucking where Purdy goes, big QB run here. For how it is for me right now, I'm just not crazy about Igbuka. I'm also not crazy about reaching too early for Baker Mayfield. So that's another thing for me. Like, I was going to take Baker Mayfield at 82 no matter what. So I don't know. Don't like Jerry Jeudy, but getting him 87-6. I think that's most things in best ball. Fucking McCarthy at 104. We are in the danger zone here from the no badge area. Got to make sure we get our guys in this room because people are going to reach all over. All right, I think we should take Caleb Williams here. I don't think it's worth passing him around the turn here. These guys could take Caleb unstacked, like I think is pretty safe to say. We have unbadged drafters here. So Caleb, pick 106 here. We have the double stack, kind of had to grab him, or else the team really wouldn't make a lot of sense. But we have a 1-3-5-0 build going. Anyway, I think I got sidetracked on a point because I got distracted by the chat. The main thing for me is like people reach and stuff. And again, guys in this Discord do it a lot. They look up the DraftKings combinatorial ownership, try to reach for different combos, which I think at this stage is still not a great thing to do. Like, sure, grab Gibbs and Bucky because it seems underdrafted a little bit more. Gibbs and Jonathan Taylor, same principle as well. But I think in general, what you want to do for uniqueness is just letting stuff fall to you more. When you get Jerry Jeudy 20 picks after ADP, that's a uniqueness a lot of people won't have. So like, that's something that right away makes you different, gives you a higher valued player 20 spots later than they normally go. Again, not a crazy Jerry Jeudy guy or anything, but like, we're getting him for free here. I think a fourth RB seems like the move for me. Tyrone Tracy gives us some correlation with the Giants. For me, Tracy and Scadaboo, very similar bets. I do like Scadaboo's college stats significantly more than I would have liked Tyrone Tracy's, as a guy who was a converted wide receiver coming out of Mizzou. But I think he came out of Missouri, right? Pretty sure that's the case. If not, somebody correct me in chat. I'm sure somebody will. But for Tyrone Tracy, I think he showed enough for me as the Giants lead back last year, showed the volume, showed the fantasy spike ability. For Scadaboo, I think he can have a role. Tracy can have a role. These guys can ping pong back and forth. But I take Tracy when he's there over Scadaboo, and Scadaboo I take as a faller more so. I think Scadaboo, it wouldn't shock me either to see him not with the first team, maybe even behind Devin Singletary for camp. I think you might have a buying window for Scadaboo coming up into maybe the 130s. We'll see how it goes. Scadaboo, to me, grades out, like I've said a few times on here. If I were to say there's a Bucky Irving in the class, it's not Bashal Tootin. It's probably Cam Scadaboo, who crushed in every analytics category. High avoided tackle rate guy, high EPA per rush and per pass guy. Those are things that we look for special players, and I think Scadaboo has the potential, even though the athletic testing was definitely not as good, either, much like Bucky Irving last year. Bingo values uniqueness skeleton key. I agree. I mean, obviously on DraftKings, I think we do tend to see that value a little bit more, but yeah, when you get an underdog and a BBM, especially soaking up the value, like BBM rooms tend to be sharp. I think letting Jerry Jeudy go before pick 90 is not sharp. So just absorb him when you can. And that's what we did here. Always wary of the slot sluts when team building. Yeah, look, I mean, look, the slot players can sometimes work out in a significant way. Like Lad McConkey, I would have said was like a slot forward player. Frankly, even his last year in college, he didn't get enough targets to even fit, the top 100 receivers, whatever that I pulled in data for from Sports Info Solutions. So like held that against him a little bit more than I probably should have. That said, the freak athletic testing, the fact there weren't great target earners in the Chargers room, that maybe puts you on McConkey more. Last year, we're talking about it for him as a rookie. This year, obviously, he's priced where he is. Seems like he's worth that price, we would hope. But I think it's still one of those things where people are like, well, Lad can play out wide. He's going to move all over the place. This year, same thing with JSN. JSN can play out wide. They're going to move Cooper Kupp in the slot, and JSN can do it. In reality, slot players end up being slot players because that's where they're best. And sometimes that could be a little bit of a PPR scheme, maybe hopefully for your draft an underdog, a half PPR scheme. But it's not always a guarantee that a slot player can do more. And in fact, I would say more likely than not, you're going to have a lot of kind of slot players that end up underperforming relatively. We have a 1-4-5-0 build here. I mean, Bateman, another really big faller here. I don't think we need the sixth receiver necessarily right now, but we're good at RB for the most part at this point. I'm going to take the faller here in Bateman. So another 17 picks of ADP value. Overall here, I've picked up 15, 18, 17. So picked up like 50 spots of ADP value, if that math's correct. Easy to do that. Obviously not easy to have that happen in every room you're in, but easy to absorb that when it's here, I guess is the better way to put that. And so you got to think about my QB endgame a little bit more. These guys kind of bled QB out here, but we've got a couple outs late. Nothing I want to reach for. Facial Tootin here. I'm going to take a guy that I actually did hear some FUD from Adam Levitan on his Market Monday show on ETR, which I do think is a worthwhile watch/listen every week. And I'll give the team a read as well. But he had mentioned being down on Trey Benson, thinks it's going to be a James Conner backfield. And I think that's a decent bet to make, given how we saw it, how it worked out last year. It was a lot of James Conner. James Conner was great. Very high avoided tackle rate as well for an older back, efficient player. This is all stuff that I would look for. And I think James Conner is a good click. That said, every signal we've gotten from Jonathan Gannon, the head coach for the Cardinals this year, has been they want to have a timeshare. I think a lot of coaches want to have a timeshare and they end up settling somewhere in between. So maybe you get 33% Trey Benson, 66% James Conner, or, some split that accounts for whoever else in that backfield they want to use too. I think that's probably your more likely outcome, but Benson's not a zero to me. I don't think he's a pure contingent value play either. I think Benson gets in the mix more than people want to see this year, with especially how highly priced James Conner is. So taking Trey Benson, still a good thing for me because ADP is falling on DraftKings, I think in particular. And I think, Levitan being down on him, ETR is certainly one of the market movers out there. So I'm happy to take Benson here, even though he's probably going to get cheaper. So the team right now is a 1-5-6-0. We've got Caleb Williams, Devon Achane, Breece Hall, Aaron Jones, Tyrone Tracy, Trey Benson. At receiver, Malik Nabers, Mike Evans, DJ Moore, Romo Dunze, Jerry Jeudy, Rashad Bateman. No tight ends yet, but we got a lot of receiver value. So that's really the main thing I'm trying to take here. Jackson, the wide receiver value is crazy in this room. Yeah, like a lot of guys passing him up. Unfortunately, this guy took Tua, hopefully correlated. All right, he's got Jalen Waddle. So was thinking about taking Tua for my Devon Achane correlation. Instead, going to have to cobble something together at QB here. Start with the eliminator question, since you're not super into it, but you like elite QB, you're loading up late better for that format. It's about projection. So it's like the same thing you do in a cash game. You're trying to take the highest projected players and cram them in. So I think elite QB fits that criteria for sure. It still comes down to like value though. Like I wouldn't reach for an elite QB over a falling RB that's got a pretty decent projection as like a lead back. Like if Kyron Williams is there, you should take him because he's a back that's normally be projected for like 15 to 20 fantasy points in a given week, maybe higher if he, holds some of the other rookies at bay more. So I think elite QB is fine. And again, trying to think about it in the terms of the projection overall, like what's a good projection for you to have the entire season? That's sort of what you're looking for. Because it's just literally just a cash game head to head is what you're playing every week. But teams are going to be drafted not that way. We got Quentin Johnston here, another wide receiver value, but I think we need the second QB at this point. Bryce Young, we're going to try to bail out with this here. Thought we would get Tua back, was really my bet in my head the entire time. So we could do some Miami-Tampa Bay correlation here, even though not the greatest week 17 stack to have a Tampa Bay receiver with a Miami QB. But I think for Caleb Williams, Bryce Young, I live this being a two-man QB room and a BBM. I think it's really the main thing for me. So 2560 here. Really not a lot of targets to like left from Vegas. But Geno Smith, I think, being I think a third QB appeals to me enough here. I'm going to go Geno. Because we have this bet on Malik Nabers. This is something I do, which I don't know the data supports it quite as much as I would like to think it does in my head. But we've got the part of an Oppo Week 17 correlation here with Malik Nabers. So I'll take Geno Smith, who plays him in Week 17, and hope that we can get maybe a Dante Thornton late, maybe a Mostert and Thornton to kind of round out the room. If I really get desperate at tight end, a Michael Mayer, I don't really think that's something I would do. But that's something I do try to do in teams where okay, I'm kind of blocked out at QB. What Oppo correlation can I get for Week 17? And then take a QB and build that way. So that's what I'm doing here with Geno, even though, I don't know. I think this room kind of feels like three QBs. Caleb and Bryce Young could live with its two as a two QB room, but I think getting it to three QBs is probably a little bit better for the projection. So team so far is a 3-5-6-0. We got Caleb Williams, Bryce Young, Geno Smith. At RB, Devon Achane, Breece Hall, Aaron Jones, Tyrone Tracy, Trey Benson. So I think at the very least, a solid top three that'll be in the mix. And for Achane, I would say being a guy that can put up the real ceiling we need to have at RB. At receiver, Malik Nabers, Mike Evans, DJ Moore, huge ADP discount on him. Romo Dunze, slight value on him for the Chicago stack. Jerry Jeudy, huge value. Rashad Bateman, huge value. Bateman, I like a lot as my wide receiver 5. So to have him as a 6 here, I think we might be done at receiver, besides whatever stack things I guess I take on top. Like the team's unique because we got all that value. Definitely not going to look like any of the other teams I have in my portfolio. Surprised Quentin Johnston's price hasn't jumped quicker. People just don't like Quentin Johnston. I haven't forgiven him from the rookie year still, even though he was really a guy for a lot of the shittier built teams that still worked out pretty well, I would say, last year. But, in terms of teams that kind of ignored the data, took a lot of RBs early, didn't take their receivers until pick 100 kind of stuff. Quentin Johnston was like a saving grace for them last year. So I'm a little surprised that those guys don't like Quentin Johnston more. But that said, the fact that he's now, captain some touchdowns, running with the first team, even though the wide receiver coach has said that, since OTAs, I think even since the NFL draft, they've been saying about Quentin Johnston. He's a starter. And then Trey Harris, they want to work as a Z. They want Quentin Johnston to be the X, the primary outside receiver. At a certain point, I think Trey Harris is going to prove that he's a better player between the two. But for this year, even it might just be Quentin Johnston running ahead of him all year. So he's always been an okay click, especially if you have Justin Herbert. But people just hold their priors forever. It's basically the way it goes. All right, 3-5-6-0 build. Obviously, need to get some tight ends at some point, but see if we do that here. All right, Chig goes, I can take Gesicki here. Really, at this point for me at tight end, obviously would love to correlate still a little bit, but I don't need to have a Cole Kmet, Jatavian Sanders, Michael Mayer tight end room. I still want to get projectable quality tight ends that we know can spike. Gesicki's absolutely one of those guys, and in particular, in a team where you don't have Cincinnati guys, and really do have some Trey Benson, so little minor Week 17 correlation. Gesicki can have days that pay off pretty meaningfully. We saw him spike over 20 fantasy points enough times, so I think for me, getting Gesicki here is good. The downside is I passed on Rico Dowdle there, and I did want to grab him. But it's not going to be the case. Cade Otton here, Zach Ertz, I would have as a better projection play than Cade Otton. So I am going to go Zach Ertz. We didn't get the Tampa Bay Miami correlation anyway. You can make the case that because I have Mike Evans, because I have because I have Devon Achane, should just take Cade Otton over Zach Ertz anyway, who I have no correlation with. But to me, Zach Ertz, I think, is greatly underpriced. Obviously, he's old. I get that. As a player somebody that drafted a lot of Ben Sinnott last year for that reason, Zach Ertz showed he's as legit of a tight end for that team as anybody could be at this point. So for Zach Ertz, to me, I think he's really undervalued at tight end. He should be more in that Brenton Strange range, but he's not. So we grabbed 2 tight ends here, 3-5-6-2 build. We've got Caleb Williams, Bryce Young, Geno Smith, still live for some more tight ends for those guys for sure. At RB, Devon Achane, Breece Hall, Aaron Jones, Tyrone Tracy, Trey Benson. Feels like this room needs a 6th RB for sure. But who that 6th RB is going to be with some of these guys going early, not sure about that. At receiver, Malik Nabers, Mike Evans, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze. Love the cheap price Chicago stack. Jerry Jeudy was too cheap. Rashad Bateman was too cheap. The room is probably done for me functionally with these 6 guys. I feel like it's a pretty strong top 6. Tight end, Mike Gesicki, Zach Ertz. Definitely at least one more tight end coming. Feel like one more tight end, one more RB would be my ideal. But let's see how we get it. And DraftKings coming up next, guys. Stay tuned for that if you want to draft along with me. See, my investment in RB and love of QJ, I've turned to Fantasy Flock. Does he like Quentin Johnson? I don't know. That's a thing. I mean, I might be. I just don't know. I really don't follow. At this point, I'm honestly not following anybody's content. I've been watching more Peach streams lately because I do. I think that's good background content to have on. Really, just anytime I watch a stream of somebody else drafting, I'm like, I don't agree with what you're doing. It's really been, and look, that's maybe not great for me either, but maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. We'll see. Thought we'd get Jatavian Sanders back. We did not. That guy took him early by a little bit. We got Darren Waller here, though. Think he helps close out the tight end room. Still a believer in Darren Waller, even though Noah Fant getting cut. That's something where I thought instantly he was the best fit for Miami when this initially broke with them trading Jonnu Smith. Now they didn't bring him in then, so they can bring him in now maybe for cheap if nobody else wants him. I think the Jets are still live for Noah Fant as well if they don't like what Mason Taylor's doing in camp. I think really the big thing to watch for Noah Fant is like who's a tight end, in particular a rookie, that like they could bring him in. Seattle's out of the picture, obviously. If Arroyo and Barner aren't enough, like they don't have anybody else to go to now. And they probably already made their choice. Those guys look good enough, so that's why they got rid of Fant. But for Fant, I feel like he could come into the Jets, and that'd be a logical thing to do because Mason Taylor just doesn't really wow me as a player. Pretty big value in Michael Wilson. Thornton went already. I'm going to go Diami Brown here, though. I like Diami Brown more than Michael Wilson. Michael Wilson going to be on the field more, I would think. And if that's your tiebreaker, you could probably take Michael Wilson there over Diami. But Diami, I think, is like a more talented player. Like him a good amount. 6th RB at this point was just nothing. Blake Corum, Kareem Hunt, Keaton Mitchell. Mostert maybe would have been a click to give me some Vegas correlation, but I didn't do it. So that's what we did here. But the final team before we head over to DraftKings, a 3-5-7-3. We got Caleb Williams, Bryce Young, Geno Smith. So thought I'd be able to stack these guys up, and I did not succeed in that goal. At RB, Devon Achane, Breece Hall, Aaron Jones, Tyrone Tracy, Trey Benson. I think one more RB on top here would have been nice, but it just didn't align ADP-wise. Unfortunately, some guys that normally go to round 18, round 17, went in round 16 here, and that threw off my calculus a little bit. At receiver, Malik Nabers, but honestly, that happens a lot in training camp, so prepare if you're the same kind of way as I do. You have your guys you like late. Sometimes those guys you like later now not to be priced as free as they were before. Malik Nabers, Mike Evans, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Jerry Jeudy, Rashad Bateman, Diami Brown. Really huge ADP value overall for this room, which I think will make this stand out on Best Ball Explorer when you run the data. But real-time ADP value is huge here because people just didn't take these guys at ADP for whatever reason. Gesicki value, Ertz value, Waller value. The team is ADP value laden is really the main thing here, and that's enough for me. Let's over to DraftKings next. We're doing another DraftKings draft at 3 p.m. today on Stochastic, so come join me on there. But let's see what we're doing here. Best Ball week over on DraftKings, so you're not getting quite the cornucopia of promos going. But we see what we have in this room. How many spots? Please be full. All right, 10 out of 12 spots. 2 spots left in here. With these Spags, content's been tough to watch this year. Shout out for bringing some normalcy to my work week. So I appreciate that, Jack. And look, again, it's not really like, I don't know. Like, I think for me, the biggest issue, and it's probably because I've been doing this for 3 years in a row, streaming a ton of content around Best Ball. It all feels very samey. And also, I just think a lot of people this year are not really making great choices with structure and really players that they're touting a lot. So But I've also been in disagreement, frankly, with like the market since the beginning of the year with like the RB thing and all the rookie RBs, greatest rookie RB class ever. And I just didn't buy that. So I think I might just be carrying that over a little bit, but we'll certainly see when we're in season. I've drafted differently this year, built a lot more balance. If you guys have followed my stream, I was a staunch zero RB drafter. And now I'm basically, I'm just a little RB piggy soaking up that. Can't imagine a life without multiple running backs, but really that's what the year is. That's what it's been for me. So we'll see. Guys, show some love if you can. Subscribe, hit the like button here. All goes a long way for me here. Best ball space, very competitive. And I'm not nose to the grindstone as much here. I'm obviously on Discord all day. I'm still keeping up with news as much as I can. But stream-wise, you get these few streams a week for me here. Also on Stochastic Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. Doing DraftKings drafts. But show some love if you can. And, of course, the volume will increase here. My morning videos are going to come out at some point when there's enough for me to actually make a video off it for training camp news. So stay tuned for that on the channel coming up as well, as we wait for this 101 pick for me, the very influential 101. Not influential enough for DraftKings to pay me to do drafts, but influential enough. So I guess technically they do through Stochastic, but I really wanted, come on. Give me money. I do 100 DK drafts that they pay me. That's how it goes. Buy the dip, whatever. Tight end 1, the team signs Fant. Fant is dust. Sure. I mean, I wouldn't take Mason Taylor higher if they added Fant. That's the main thing I would say. We'll see what's coming up here. Let's see what's coming up here. It's going to be Jamarr Chase. That's what's coming up for me. I'm not deviating here. I don't think you need to be one of those people that outthinks yourself, takes Justin Jefferson. Unless you have so many 101s that you've already gotten yourself 10 to 15% Jamarr Chase. The fact you get the 101 is like such a rare opportunity. You should take the actual 101 whenever you can. I see people outthink that all the time. And it's like, no, just take Jamarr Chase when you're there. He's not falling in rooms so often. If he does, he's falling to spot 2. In August, he might fall a little bit more because people want to balance out their exposures when they get a 101. For right now, though, if you're in the 101, just take Jamarr Chase and deal with it later. Jack thinks we have similar process this year. Hope I'm right. I hope so, too. I mean, look, I think really in particular being price sensitive for rookies is a big part for me this year. And again, really just the big change for me has been I was playing, I think, 2 tournament brain the last few years, which has helped me, I think, spike teams a little bit higher when it gets to the finals. But I want to balance that a little bit better, or I want to have teams that can do well, in week 15, week 16, in particular week 17 when all the expected value is realized. But I want to have teams that advance better. Like I'm tired of being a guy that's throwing in like these tournament entries that maybe perform well, but I'm doing a 12 to 16% advance rate when you account for just me, like, in particular, being ravaged by injuries the last few years. Fucking Marshawn Lloyd, if he gave me anything last year, would help me advance like 10 more teams. This year, I don't want to leave that to chance. I just feel like my player takes are better. I feel like people are kind of lost in the sauce a little bit with what they saw last year, what got results, what didn't get results, how Saquon Barkley didn't instantly make them win $1 million. So I think that's, it's a year really where, having your own principles, your own North Star for drafting and player evaluation, I think will carry you further, but we will see. Had a lot of 101s, just slam Chase every time, as you should. He's one of those guys where, frankly, the target earning, not as good as some other guys like Puka Nacua if we're just going for a guy that gets targeted an insane amount that seems implausible. Malik Nabers, a guy in year 2, I expect that to go up even higher. Drake London with Michael Penix, expect him to go even higher after he put up, a 30% plus target per out run last year. Those are guys you could chase for the upside if you really want to, but like, no pun intended. For Jamarr Chase, it's like, what you're going to get there. A Bengals team that's also just actively getting worse on defense. They had to throw themselves in every game last year. This year, they haven't brought in their first-round pick. Hendrickson is still floating around out there. He's now left training camp. It's apparently on vacation, or at least posting photos that make it look like he's on vacation. It's not a good scene for the Bengals defense right now. At least they paid T. Higgins. They paid Jamarr Chase. There's really nothing to me that I think that changes the Bengals situation too materially. But we'll see. Shout out to the guys joining though. Got some good mornings here. Want to see an RB Pig strat out of the 101? It's harder to do that. Depends what falls back though. Like if Bucky Irving came back, Jonathan Taylor came back, I'd probably take those 2. As it is, it's really hard to not take Cincinnati, Arizona when you're in these spots. If I get Trey McBride back, get Marvin Harrison back, I'm likely taking at least one of those. I do want to take more Chase Brown, too, in these spots. I think the Jamarr Chase Brown duo is a little bit underowned. We'll pull up the Fantasy VIP tool here, which we've been looking at on stream a little bit more lately. But we got Jamarr Chase, Chase Brown. Yeah, so about a 12% correlation overall compared to Higgins. Higgins at 29%. What about Harrison? Marvin Harrison at 8. If you want to do that correlation, and McBride's got to be pretty high, right? McBride 24. Yeah, dog. I heard somebody make a noise. That's great. Really helpful stuff. Anyway, that's some of the combos you have with Cincinnati, Arizona. The Harrison one right now feels like the most unique, but I do like getting Jamarr Chase with Chase Brown, even if Higgins is there, because I think people don't do that very often. Overall, the Jamarr Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow combo is like incredibly highly owned, I think, no matter what site you're going to be on. Doesn't mean it's a bad play, but it means you are going to be holding hands with like a lot of the field. It seems like based on the ownership data that's out there so far. The best defense is scoring 45 points per game. Yeah, look, Cincinnati, I really had concerns about the alchemy of the team last year, all the contract stuff that kind of was hanging around. But I think that for how it is right now with the Bengals, it's like they just didn't improve anything. If they get Stewart in, if they sign Hendrickson to a new deal, maybe that makes the defense like fractionally better than it was last year, but they also lost guys too. I'm not a big defense is usually not sticky year to year. Like that's what the data will say for the most part. But like when you do nothing to make the team better and the defense is one of the worst in football last year, I just don't know how you think it's going to get that much better this year. Jonathan Taylor comes back here. I got to think that's unique. I'm going to check it. If not, we'll just auto. Yeah, 3% it looks like for Chase and Taylor. So, Jamar Chase and Jonathan Taylor. So I'm going to go Jonathan Taylor with the first pick. Love Trey McBride. Really can't argue that. Don't love Josh Jacobs. I'm okay with Chase Brown here as well to get that ownership product down a little bit. Frankly, getting Jonathan Taylor there, I think, dropped the ownership down enough. If we're trying to get unique here around the turn, I'll go McBride. So we got one RB, one receiver, one tight end. I think a decent shot at wide receiver 1, tight end 1. Jonathan Taylor, I don't think could be RB1. I guess he could be, but it's not the most likely. So that's my team so far. Very balanced. But I think when you have the wide receiver 1 with Jamar Chase, I think we can hopefully build a little bit less receiver heavy to start and make up for it. We'll see what we get back. Do I do Ironmans? We're doing bits? No, I don't do Ironman. Ironman, like the fitness thing? No, I do try triathlons. That's my fitness activity. I have a Chase Brown, Burrow with Fields and Wilson. Oh, it is fun. That is fun. Chase plus Brown plus Wilson on that turn. Yeah, that does seem fun. How's my Jaden exposure looking? On Underdog, I'm at like 15%, I think. I'll check it. Completed season exposure. I'm at 13% Jaden overall. 14% in BBM. My goal was to get to like 15, 16, so we're doing okay there. Jaden's price is not going to get any cheaper, so that is what it is. Fitness whole pizza in my belly. There we go. I am like trying to diet during the week now because it's been a tough run. Like last week we got back from vacation and the wife didn't go to the grocery store, so it was just like fend for yourself week. But trying to tighten it up a little bit before football season. But the tough part is like during the summer, it's like if I have to grill, like last night I had to grill kebabs, and I'll give some real fucking husband complaints here. So my wife never cleans our grill. Like she'll clean the top of it with a brush or whatever. So we have like a smoker grill thing, both things separate parts. The smoker I keep perfectly clean. Like certainly don't change the foil or whatever every time, but like it's fine. It's clean enough. Tried to use the actual grill yesterday. The fucking Sidekick, if you guys are familiar with the Camp Chef grill. I don't know why people care this much about smokers, but in case you do, it might matter. And basically the thing fucking flamed up at me because it had grease accumulated from like months in there. I don't know how the fuck she's been using it whenever she grills. But it was just like a disaster. I'm like, I can't even use this. So I had to then spend the entire like cooking time cleaning the grill while trying to smoke beef kebabs. They ended up coming out really well. So I recommend smoking your beef kebabs if you can. But like, my God, just fucking women with grills. Like literally like a fire up to my fucking head. Like I'm 6'1", the fire was coming up like to right here on my face. Like, no, thank you. I think I can grill this kebab. I probably could have grilled. It probably would have been really nice and fiery and charred, but I don't want to die. I don't want to get burned alive trying to make my kebabs. God forbid the olive oil gets on my hand and all of a sudden I'm lit ablaze and Freddy Krueger here on stream. Man, that was just one of those things really fucking chafed my ass. So I got to tell somebody, and you guys are the ones I have to tell, unfortunately. James Cook here going at a very reasonable pick 43. I really don't think he should fall very much. People love to overreact. Here in this DraftKings room, though, they didn't. Though I think MJ might be in the chat, so that's how that goes. MJ, smarter guy as a result, but going very RB heavy to start here with the Bucky, Jaden, Cook start. Frankly, some of my highest exposed guys he's got right here, so more power to him. Hope Zero RB crushes here because I've built a lot of those teams. Dwayne, I don't know. This is the year, man. I mean, the fact that nobody's really doing it as much maybe makes it the year. But, like, even if you do a Zero RB team, I think you got to grab one from that Mixon, Kamara, up to James Conner range as your base. And even then, I think it's going to be tough. Certainly, I think can hit. If you draft the nuts, you draft the nuts. But I think it's going to be easier to draft the nuts with, like, a solid RB projection up top, would be my guess. We got a Taylor, Chase, McBride start here. So Jonathan Taylor falling to us is the way we're getting unique. And Jalen Hurts coming back around. All right, so I think the obvious thing that people would do here normally would be take Joe Burrow. And we do have, so, all right. This is tough. Because I think we could do something more unique, which is put a Hurts, Devontae Smith stack on top. So that's what I'm going to do. Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith. And I think when we have the big bet on Jamarr Chase, we have the bring back with Trey McBride. I think the assumption here is that most people would go Joe Burrow, and I do think that's the projection play. But in the fact that we're bringing another stack on top, another Week 17 game as well with Philadelphia Buffalo that I think has some upside. I think it's easy to take Joe Burrow there. I think the more creative play is to do a little Jalen Hurts stack. So team so far, Jalen Hurts, Jonathan Taylor. And I think really the big critique I would have if we're getting full best ball game theory would be Jonathan Taylor falling to that spot made the team unique enough that I could have just done the binary, take Joe Burrow, take whatever else with that, doesn't really matter. But because we had the actual stack here with Hurts and Devontae, I think it's kind of appealing just to grab those two, add another stack on top. So, and obviously Jalen Hurts, if you're talking about, 1 week kind of battles here like we're going to have in Week 17, Jalen Hurts versus Joe Burrow in a Jamarr Chase stack, I think is kind of fun. So that's the logic I'm going to go with here. Love the squad. Thank you, Matthew. Always appreciate your support for my many endeavors here. Fun start, says Jack. I agree. I think this is unique. I think it's a clever way to try to do it. Obviously, though, I think we might have gotten unique enough with the falling Jonathan Taylor. So that's sort of my one critique of my own approach here. Had the propane tank explode on your grill. Jesus Christ, that's not fun. That would freak me the fuck out. Grill accidents, mishaps are scary. I agree. It's one of the worst, especially when it's not like your own, like I know how to use the smoker. I know what I'm doing. I know that stuff really well. I've done it enough times. For a grill, I'm not using it frequently. And it's like, I'm hopping in and it's like just a fucking disaster. Cause she usually does the grilling, to her credit, on the small grill. But yes, it was a gas grill. But I did clean the shit out of it. I used my Gooby Gone or whatever, which pause. But it's like the grill cleaner. Very good grill cleaner as well. But I had to just scrub everything to the bottom so it would not start fires anymore. Rule number 1, my wife don't touch the grill. Like the thing is, I want her to be empowered to grill. I don't want to always have to be the one that does it. Smoking, I'm the only one that does that for sure. And that's manly enough. But if she wants to like do burgers or whatever, that's fine. Now they know the house is a grease trap, though. Probably maybe not so much moving forward. I'll at least keep an eye on it more. It's going to go clean. Yeah, learn something from all this. Go clean your grills today, guys. And you get some Goo Gone. I don't even know what the brand is. It's like Gooby Gone, I think is it. It's like a yellow bottle. Great grill cleaner. All right, so the team so far, 1 RB through 5 rounds. Only 2 receivers through 5 rounds as well, but we're building a full roster here. So I feel like it's coming along decently. Jalen Hurts team, Jamarr Chase at the 101, Jonathan Taylor, Devontae Smith as well stacked up with Hurts, Trey McBride. So we'll see what we get on the way back. And again, 3 p.m. stream for me today on Stochastic, another DraftKings Best Ball draft. So come join me on there. Best Ball week doesn't have to end on the Stochastic streams I'm doing because that deal is apparently going to run all summer. So drafts Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. for me on Stochastic. Chris Godwin go to 66. Love to see that. Protect that CLV, boys. Don't let him fall. Frankly, even if you don't like Chris Godwin, like, and you're worried about the injury, I don't think you should go past Jacoby Myers. I don't know. I'm not a big Jacoby Myers guy, especially, when the fact they draft his potential replacement in Jack Besh, I think is not a great thing for him. Not that I think Besh is going to like clear him easily. It's not really what Jack Besh is as a player. But I would still take Godwin over Myers. Even if I was worried about the ankle, I'd still take Godwin over Myers. All right, but let's see what we got here. These guys really feel like sometimes I like time it out where I'm like, my pick's going to be coming up. And then the guys take the entire clock and just throws off the feng shui. But the last stage of our try draft-a-thon coming up at the end of this one, guys. The Drafters draft, so stay tuned there. Come draft with me on Drafters. Drafters.com, promo code SPLASH. Dog, I don't want your head on me. I love you very much, but it's hot in this room. My dog has to like be next to me. The kitty, the dog, is now very large and has to be on top of me the entire fucking day. I've gone to having the neediest dog in the world, which we all love, right? Love the dog, for the record. Just don't want her head on me 24/7. All right, well, we got our Philadelphia stack here. I got to say, I like all these guys more than Khalil Shakir, though. I think the assumption would be to take Shakir here as a PPR receiver. He's probably our best Philadelphia Buffalo bringback. But Olave and Jennings, to me, are much more appealing clicks. I'm going to grab Shakir, though. I just think having the Philadelphia Buffalo game stack on top of the Cincinnati Arizona base is kind of inherently unique. It wouldn't be less unique, I guess, to grab Keon Coleman, to grab Josh Palmer, to do it that way, grab Kincaid if I want, Ray Davis, whatever you really want to grab from Buffalo. But I think if we're going for the premium Philadelphia Buffalo here, obviously without Saquon, without A.J. Brown, I think going Shakir is the move. So again, really think normally I would take most of the guys in front of him over Shakir. Olave, Jennings in particular, to me, easy clicks over Shakir normally. But, we'll do something different. Let's give this team a read here because we got a lot of time before I pick. The joys of picking on the turn. We got Jalen Hurts, Jonathan Taylor. Again, him falling to the turn makes this team kind of inherently unique. Aaron Jones, our second RB off the board. Jamarr Chase, Devontae Smith, Khalil Shakir, Trey McBride. Right now, my biggest critique for this room would be, number one, reaching for Shakir. I just feel like he's a better wide receiver 4 than wide receiver 3. Second part of it would be I'm starving RB more than I normally do at this stage of drafting. I feel like in general, I have at least 2 RBs I feel great about by this point. If not 3 RBs, I feel great to pretty good about. Having only 2 at this stage makes me worry a little bit. That said, I think we'll be okay. But it is one thing that right now stands out eyeball test to me that's not great. How much do you think about semi-forcing week 17 versus letting it naturally happen? I like to force it more. It was something I disagreed with Pete a good amount about last year, where he's like, uses it as a tiebreaker, at least last year did. Use it more as a tiebreaker at the end of a draft. Well, meanwhile, in my opinion, like in previous years, including last year, we saw these combos early on with week 17 correlations be some of the most valuable. A couple of years ago, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra, that literally won Fareed Shaheed all the money that year in BBM. And it was a very obvious stack to make, a very obvious correlation to make, but it was there the entire time the BBM was being drafted and people just didn't take it. And that was the same thing on other sites as well. But that was something to me where like getting the best players correlated for week 17 is still the best thing. But obviously, if you have guys later on, the tiebreaker should be week 17, like should be team correlation first, then week 17 correlation second. Like if you're picking at the end of a draft and it's like, I could choose between, I'm trying to thinking of this room in particular. I choose between Elijah Moore, who's correlated for Philadelphia Buffalo, or I could grab, I think Wicks is a better click, or I could grab, I don't know, like who's another shitty 20th round receiver? I could grab Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Like, I think I'd probably take Elijah Moore over MVS because it's like these guys are functionally the same play. Like they play different stuff, in terms of like MVS's role. He's going to be a boundary receiver. Elijah Moore is going to be like your mixing in slot guy. But I would say at that point, those guys projection wise, probably not going to project too highly week to week. Let's take the week 17 correlation. But I think the biggest value for week 17 correlation is like getting, Zay Flowers with Josh Jacobs early on. People don't think about that as much. So I think, trying to weight it earlier is more important, but as a tiebreaker, I get why people go like, that's just your tiebreaker late. But I definitely favor it earlier on. Vader never said, Luke, I'm your father. Instead, no, I am your father. That's we're doing movie trivia this year. That's fun. Any other week 17 stacks I like? I mean, there's a lot. It's really any of them you can talk yourself into. Was really hoping Kyler Murray would come all the way back, but Marvin Harrison drafters over here. That's unfortunate. I thought we could have gotten Cincinnati, Arizona, the Arizona style, but we didn't get that. Atlanta Rams is my number one, I think, right now. Just that game, I think, should be one that has the right mix of quarterback play, receivers I like that line up well. Different ways you can get it as well. If you get Puka and Drake London on DraftKings for Underdog, great. If you get Puka with Darnell Mooney, Adams with Darnell Mooney, great, I think, too. You get Bijan with that mix, too. I think that also is great. Kyron, same thing. It's like a lot of different pieces there. So that's probably my number one. Niners Chicago is another one I take a lot. The game environment from that one I worry about a little bit more, but Niners D, I'm just not sure what to make of this year. Robert Saleh should make them better, but they've lost a good amount of talent on defense, so I'm not sure how that comes out in the wash. Because frankly, those Jets defenses weren't as good as people thought. After that initial start where they were really good, like they wasn't very good last year. But anyway, obviously Saleh wasn't there all year as well, so that could be part of that. But yeah, I like Niners Chicago. In terms of like the volume I get. In terms of the highest scoring ones, like Minnesota, Detroit, Philadelphia, Buffalo come to mind the most. You're talking about like the best teams competing there, and that's generally your highest upside. But I really like the ones that I guess the more easy thing to point to would be the ones I don't like Cleveland, Pittsburgh, I don't like very much. Dallas, Washington, I don't mind, but I don't take very often. Jets, New England, I don't love, even though I like the Jets a lot in terms of their stack options. All right. 1, 2, 3, 1. Really think we need a receiver here, but receiver is awful. This is tough. Mooney going threw this off real bad for me. I'm going to go ATN here for one more RB. Jaden Higgins, I think, reached for the upside. I literally haven't taken Michael Pittman once this offseason, and I don't see that ending anytime soon. Justin Fields would make the QB room pop a little bit more. What are we trying to be in service of here, I guess? I'm going to go Jaden Higgins. I think that Fields might make this team more potent for the playoffs, and that's really where my temptation is. But I do strongly believe, in terms of how I view the game, that you're just more likely to get beaten up by Fields, Garrett Wilson teams at some point. They're correlated as much as anybody on DraftKings right now, according to the data that's out there. And I'm sure that hasn't changed very much in the last month. We'll see what there's some new data that comes out from DraftKings at the end of July. But for right now, I think we needed that fourth receiver more because I haven't given myself enough receiver firepower. So we got Jalen Hurts, Jonathan Taylor, Aaron Jones here. Jamarr Chase, Devontae Smith, Khalil Shakir as wide receiver 3 makes me really uncomfortable. But we got elite tight end with Trey McBride, Travis Etienne, I think a viable RB3, even though he would be a lot better as an RB4. And Jaden Higgins would be a lot better as a wide receiver 5. We got him as wide receiver 4. And this is really what happens, by the way, and I've said this before on stream, and I still do it to myself. When you take elite QB, elite tight end, and also the RB early as well, but that's, I think, a given in most drafts I do these days. You just end up a little bit thin at every position. None of them look fantastic. So that's that. Thought I would have taken Mason over Jones. I don't agree with that, but I already have Aaron Jones, so I'm not. I mean, you could take them together. I think they're going to score touchdowns in different ways, but I didn't feel the need to take both Minnesota backs. But I don't agree that Mason over Aaron Jones. I think that's, especially on a PPR site, I think that's egregiously incorrect. I mean, just be like, Aaron Jones, like as a PPR play, has always been one of the strongest RBs in football. Mason, I agree, takes goal line work away. So like half-point PPR, you want to take him, but he shouldn't be above Jones and ADP. Like Jones is going to be your primary back. Mason will take probably 10 touches a game away, but you run the risk that he's kind of like a Tyler Algier where he's not really getting on the field unless there's like no need to mask what they're doing. Because Mason, the Niners really didn't want to use him in that role last year, and they barely did. And that's part of what kept him from having that true CMC ceiling, besides less goal line work as well. What are you doing, man? Tongue just has to lick herself on me now. You're very cute, but you're very annoying when trying to do content. Either way, though, just not crazy about Jordan Mason in terms of being better than Aaron Jones. Think he's okay, but I don't know. Tyjae Spears going to pick 99. There was some quote that came out from Brian Callahan this week talking about personal and professional issues that Tyjae Spears had last year that kept him from maybe hitting his ceiling. And he feels like this year Tyjae Spears has cleared that stuff out of the way, worked hard to accomplish that. I don't know what they're referring to. He had the concussions at the end of last year. That could be a part of it. I'm not sure if it was maybe he didn't feel like he had enough opportunity at the beginning part of the year. But a lot of great talk about Tyjae Spears so far. He's looked good apparently in whatever camp has existed so far. And to me, the big thing that stands out is last year when we had Tony Pollard go down, Tyjae Spears is one of your better projected backs in football for the couple weeks he had, couple of years, bits of runway that he had down the stretch in the fantasy playoffs. And in particular, Tyjae Spears carried a few teams of mine last year. In particular, my big board finalists where I had 3 of those. A large part of that was Tyjae Spears. I'm very in the bag for Tyjae Spears. I think he should be priced top 100, but I've been taking him so much in the 120s, 130s that feels like a steep price to be hitting. But I would say for Tyjae, Spears right now is probably, if I'm going to compare him to somebody from last year, I think Spears is like a Chase Brown, where maybe it makes you regret it a little bit early on. You feel like the ADP didn't pay off, because of how he performs in some of those games in a timeshare. And I would say in particular, if you're taking him at a high ADP and you're taking Pollard at pick 75, you're kind of compounding the error a little bit with this. But I think Tyjae being top 100, he's still a good click. I think he's kind of that Chase Brown from last year, where Chase Brown was such a cozy click in the 130s for me. Then he came up to like the 100s, 110s. Like, all right, I got a lot of him at 130. Maybe I'll stop making it. I don't think I should have stopped making it, and I kind of feel that way about Tyjae Spears. Price is so high to take Jones and Mason. I agree. I think Kincaid bounces back this year to some extent. I still don't think he's ever going to be like Travis Kelce, which I think would be the hope that I would have had for him even coming out of college, where he spiked so many big games. In particular, he had like a 250-yard game against USC in college that was seared into my brain. I don't think he ever gets there. Like, they have too many guys that are similar to him. It's one of the things I don't like about Indianapolis either, where you have Josh Downs, you have Michael Pittman, you add in Tyler Warren, who's kind of a similar play, guy's going to catch and run. Think that for Kincaid, it's like you're competing against guys that do similar things, like Shakir, like Josh Palmer, like Elijah Moore. I just don't think that's great for him. So not crazy about him, but certainly the price is okay. All right, we have a 1-3-4-1. Another receiver feels like the move to me. Rashid Shaheed, much cheaper on DraftKings. Think that he's generally a good wide receiver 5 to have. So I'm going to take him here with the first pick. I think we need the second or the fourth RB for me here, not the second QB. Scadaboo, who again I think could fall. Charbonnet's price tag probably won't move very much, if at all. But I like Scadaboo's upside, so I'm going to go Scadaboo. Taking Tyler Warren here might have been appealing as well, but with the Trey McBride draft capital and the fact that I feel pretty appreciatively behind at RB and wide receiver, wanted to get Scadaboo at RB. So the team so far is a 1-4-5-1. Again, Jalen Hurts, I think we did some good stuff early on, and the team is, I would say, gotten away from me. I just don't love the team after that early part. But Jalen Hurts, Jonathan Taylor, Aaron Jones, Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith, Khalil Shakir. At tight end, Trey McBride. And our flex right now, we have Travis Etienne. We got Jaden Higgins, Rashid Shaheed, Cam Scadaboo. So we're making up volume here. Again, young guys I do like with Higgins and Scadaboo to varying degrees. Definitely not players that take in every draft or anything, but guys that I'm happy to be 8% or more on. I think it'd be okay. Kincaid is slower. Kyle Pitts, that's tough. Who never hit the apex. At least Kyle Pitts had a record-breaking rookie year. Pitts is a better athlete, I think, than Kincaid. I would trust Kincaid more in a playoff situation to catch a red zone, end zone target. I think would be, I guess, the one nice thing I would say for Kincaid. Look at Kincaid's numbers. Regular comp might not be that far off analytically. Kincaid last year, 0.15 EPA per target, 29.6% target per route run. So the real issue is that he just didn't get enough routes per game. He only ran 19.5 routes per game. But he commanded targets at a pretty high clip. Again, right at that 30% mark, which is what we're looking for quality targets. 0.8 red zone targets a game, also not bad for a tight end. I mean, he's got the same amount as Cooper Kupp last year in the red zone. I think that's noteworthy. For Pitts is at 18% target per out run, about half the expected points added per target, at 0.08 as well. And he only had 0.7 red zone targets a game. So frankly, just based on all of these categories here, I would say that Kincaid grades out a little bit better, earned targets more, was more efficient with it, had slightly more red zone work. But it's not too far off. It's not too far off. I'm glad you love the Higgins pick. I'm glad we can agree on something here. Look, if you like Jordan Mason over Aaron Jones, I think that's not a crazy take. But I think Mason going here at 105, 108, like, I don't think you should go after Judkins. This room is kind of weird. Like Dobbins at 104, I'd probably take Mason over him. Would definitely take Mason over Judkins. Ramondre definitely not going to me before Mason. Javonte at 113 here. And this guy took Jaden Blue. I don't think these are the moves. And more power to him. Dallas Goedert goes to 133. Thought there was a chance we get him back at 144. But, you know, what are you going to do? Would have been nice to be part of that Hurts stack, but not a must-have. Guys, show some love. If you're watching live or after the fact, please do subscribe, hit the like button. It all goes a long way for me here. Just one dude showing you my best ball gambling, of course, in season for NFL, all my NFL DFS gambling, my betting. Might be more of that this year as well on stream. We'll see what we get. Negotiating some stuff down the home stretch, but stay tuned here. Of course, Splash Play, your number one source for somebody that lives and breathes football, previously ran Football Outsiders, worked for the Chiefs, technically on their Super Bowl run as part of Football Outsiders. And I'll take credit for that now as part of my spiel to promote myself. Why not? It's another thing that the other best ball streamers, they can't say that one. Can't say that one credibly. How much did I add to that Chiefs Super Bowl run? Nothing. besides brokering the deal, I guess. But you know, it still counts. Still a feather in the cap. Feather in the money hat. Quentin Johnson at 136 here. People buying that training camp hype. More likely just the guy wanted to stack up Justin Herbert. Fun little team, though. Stephon Diggs, I guess that is one news item we haven't touched on because I just don't like Stephon Diggs. Just really don't like the Patriots too much overall besides Pop Douglas. Dog, please. I keep moving you over here so you don't get me hot with your fur. It's hard to keep talking to the dog, but she just like over and over again just puts her whole body on top of me. And it's like so hot in the studio. So having a fur on top is not my fave. For Quentin Johnston, like, I think he's still a very strong click. I like what this guy's doing here with the Harris, Quentin Johnson, Herbert stack. If you're not going to get Lad McConkey, looks pretty good. For Diggs, though, pick 81 is probably the right price. I am just not excited by Diggs coming off of a knee injury, post 30 years old. Still not too stoked about the Patriots offense and what they're going to do. Like Pop Douglas for free, I think is an okay click with what we've seen from Josh McDaniels using the slot in the past. And the fact that Pop Daniels has been, you know, your starting slot, been safely ahead of Kyle Williams so far and everything that could change in July and August. But I don't see why it would with what they do. And frankly, what Pop Douglas brings to the table. For Diggs, though, he's your wide receiver one for New England. And I've got like none. So might be something I want to try to correct as we move forward. God. Nothing correlating for me here. Ray Davis, another RB to round out that room. Fits the Philadelphia Buffalo stuff we've been doing. I am going to do that here. Penix and Stafford. I've got nothing Atlanta Rams here, so that doesn't really make sense for me. Cam Ward getting him here, trying to do Tennessee, New Orleans correlation, I think is the most appealing option. I'm going to go Cam Ward with Jalen Hurts. This team could have been a little bit better if a few things fell differently. There are lots of weird rosters. That is true. Like mine, I don't think is that weird, but I think I've just absorbed different players here than I normally would get in these spots just because of how the room worked out. So crazy, by the way. Jerome Ford just went. Najee Harris still hasn't gone at pick 129. But the team so far, it's a 2-5-5-1. We got Jalen Hurts, Jonathan Taylor, Aaron Jones, Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith, Khalil Shakir, Trey McBride, Travis Etienne. So really the starting roster here, if we're going to go from QB to flex, I feel like the wide receiver is like the weakest part by a decent clip. RB also feels kind of weak too. Like Taylor's a good click. Aaron Jones and Etienne, I think, are on their own good clicks, but the combined thing just feels like I'm missing draft capital along the way, even though I didn't reach for anybody. Then we got Jaden Higgins, Rashid Shaheed. I think if you flip those guys, it would make more sense to me with Shaheed as a wide receiver 4. Thanks for shoving me, dog. Cam Scattaboo, Ray Davis, Cam Ward. It's not correlated in the way that I would like. The team still works, but it could have been, I feel like in the beginning, it felt like it was going to be something special. But I think this is what happens when you go too flat in those first 4 rounds. And I've said it a million times on stream and I just don't internalize it. But if you go receiver, RB, tight end, QB in your first 4, everything just feels a little thin. Like, especially if you don't dedicate like multiple rounds in a row for making it up at receiver, it just all feels a little thin to me. But it might just be me. Yeah, that's that for now. Dan Zero, I'm at 19%, needing to be Mr. Step on Dicks one more time. Who are we talking about? We went by so many names here. I'm not sure we're referencing. Oh, Diggs. We're talking about Diggs? You got 19% Diggs. I don't know. I don't like that. I think I am the KY likes Drake May too. So if you're pairing that, I guess I get it more. The hard part for me would be that I would never pre-prepare to take Drake May. So that's part of why Diggs is not in my repertoire. But I don't know. I mean, I take Keenan Allen all the time, and Diggs is actually going to play this year. He's actually on a roster getting paid, somehow getting paid a lot of money. So I'm not blameless either. Did I consider Burrow at all over Hurts to complete the stack? Everybody who drafts in the spot's going to do that. So I didn't get, like, the thing that I think I fucked up, and it really didn't fuck up, that I could have done differently would be, because I got Jonathan Taylor, the team is unique enough that I didn't need to go more unique by taking Hurts over it. But again, just trying to find little micro edges here. You're going to be going in this spot against a lot of Jamarr Chase, T. Higgins, Trey McBride teams with Joe Burrow. Instead, I have Joe Burrow as Jalen Hurts with Devontae Smith. I then took a different RB with Jonathan Taylor. So I got some different unique parts around it, but it's really more of a personal choice thing, I guess. I have no issue taking Joe Burrow there, but if Jalen Hurts is also there, you're at least making yourself choose a different pathway than most people choose. And really, if you don't have, I mean, if you have Chase and Higgins, even Chase and Chase Brown, I think the bet on Burrow is more like you've already made that bet on Burrow through the receivers. If you take just Jamarr Chase, I don't know that you're really making the bet on Burrow quite as much. At least that's how I would view it. Like, if you're making a bet that both Chase and Higgins are going to get there enough times throughout the year, you've already made your bet on Joe Burrow, so you might as well take Joe Burrow, whatever ADP is really at that point. If you're making your bet on just Jamarr Chase, we're just saying that Jamarr Chase is the number one guy. Maybe Higgins falls off a cliff. I don't think it's likely because those guys kind of were targeted very similarly last year. You make the case Higgins' role was just as good, if not a little bit better, because he had slightly more red zone targets. But, like, if you don't make that full bet, then, you don't have to take the QB. Shout out Sammy. Nice draft, Cugino. Let's go. Appreciate Sammy being here. Appreciate all you guys watching live here. Again, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe. Make sure to check out Drafters as well. You guys know the deal. Drafters Draft coming up next. And in fact, I'll look at the room in a moment to see how many spots there are. But go to drafters.com. Use the promo code SPLASH. Gets you a $100 deposit match. And a great site to play on, especially if you are playing on DraftKings, because it's also full point PPR and it's total points format. So different experience there with no playoff pods. The luck component goes out the window. That's what you get for yourself on Drafters. As we finish this DraftKings draft here. I'm not taking a ton of Tillman. I think that he'd be a reasonable click to make here. So let's do that. Tillman, come on down. It makes us a 2-5-6-1. I think we need to make it up a little bit more at RB. Really strongly believe Nick Chubb should not be above Rico Dowdle and Roschon Johnson. I think Roschon Johnson should be the highest out of that group as the guy that's going to most likely be your goal line back for Chicago team that's going to run the ball, similar to what Ben Johnson did last year. Whether that's effective or not, we'll find out. But I'm happy to get Roschon Johnson here. I think he should be up, frankly, in like the 150s, yet he goes this cheap on DraftKings. But Nick Chubb being above these guys is like batshit. On a full point PPR site especially, Nick Chubb's not going to get you targets. Like, what's he going to do? The Chubb rise here, I think, is just not sharp August drafting or July, August casual drafting. The team so far is now a 2-6-6-1. Still got to get some Cam Ward targets later on in the draft. We got Jalen Hurts, Jonathan Taylor, Aaron Jones, Jamarr Chase, Devontae Smith, Khalil Shakir. So Philadelphia stack with the Buffalo bring back. Trey McBride, Travis Etienne, Jaden Higgins, Rashid Shaheed, Cam Scatterbu, Ray Davis, another part of our Philadelphia Buffalo stuff. Cam Ward, part of a really weak Tennessee New Orleans correlation. Cedric Tillman, Roschon Johnson. I think the team can stand on its own. I've built better on DraftKings. I've built worse, I'm sure. I think a little bit of a misbalance of draft capital, though. That's how I feel about it. I'll show you a Chubb rise. Thank you. I didn't know Chubb was at 170 in these rooms. I mean, Jerome Ford went at 157 here, or 147. So I guess Chubb can go in the 170s. This guy took Kareem Hunt at 171. Oof. Crazy room. All right, drafters. What do we got on here? Just checking to see how many drafters spots are filled. It might be a little too early to enter it still. Only 1 out of 12 spots in a fast draft filled. We've got 5 rounds left. I'll wait a little bit to enter drafters. So don't enter drafters yet if you want to draft with me. Might still end up being the same room anyway. We'll see how it goes. Power rankings of contests I'd like to win. I mean, BBM has to be first just for the clout. But BBM functionally and DraftKings are the same prize pools, so winning one of them would be the same thing. Winning $2 million is really the goal. For that, after that, be drafters. I don't think drafters would find that disrespectful. I would hope they wouldn't. But like, obviously, I would be very grateful to win that tournament to win $500,000 up top. But I also know how money works, so I'd like to win $2 million instead of $5 million if I can. In a perfect world, winning all 3 would be nice. I don't think that's likely. I think, in fact, it would probably take, based on the math, multiple lifetimes to win all 3 at once. But, you know, be great to win them all. See, winning Squid Game would be great. That said, really a lot of effort there. A lot of effort, a lot of risk you got to take on. The expected value cannot be high for Squid Game, especially given how they fuck you there. At least BBM, you know, the structure in advance. For Squid Game, it's like, oh, the last game is one where all of a sudden you got to, like, no spoilers here, but you got to kill 4 of the other people. It's like, okay, well, that's not fair. That's not fair to throw that in last minute. So that's how I'd feel about it. But the money certainly for Squid Game would be higher. They're not as high as you would think. I feel like the 5 billion yuan or whatever their currency is. It was only like, I don't know, 5 million US, which is still more money than a BBM, but you account for the death risk. I feel like I would take BBM. Now, like best ball, I'm an addict. I don't want to use that word. I'm a big fan. I love this fucking shit. Let's go, Bills Eagles week 17. There you go. Bills Eagles week 17, very obvious one that could actually have the huge upside. For week 17, certainly a faint chance that could play more like a Super Bowl that gets so tight because of how both teams are presumably going to be the best of the best in the conference, or we would assume that based on win totals, markets, Super Bowl markets, all that stuff. But I would say in terms of like a game getting you to 70 points and being still teams playing well and not being just like a sloppy shootout, Philadelphia Buffalo is probably your best bet. Detroit, Minnesota, I think neck and neck with that. Atlanta Rams, I expect to be a sloppy shootout where it's like Penix throwing for 300, Stafford throwing for 300, nobody playing good defense, no stops. Like that's sort of what I expect that game to be. Philadelphia Buffalo would be like perfect execution for both teams. Josh Allen going nuts. Saquon maybe going nuts. If not, Hurts in the pass game. I think it's a pretty good shot of that heading. Mason Taylor at 188. Hunter Henry to 186. Sloppy shootouts happen in the turd bedroom on weekends. Thank you for that. I don't think I'd want anything referred to as a sloppy shootout. Neat, clean, orderly. That's what I want my sex to be. I want it to run like a train, but not literally. We got a Tennessee correlation here. Chickaconquo. That works. Finally stacking up Tennessee a little bit. We need more at receiver. We've only got 6 so far. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins, the big ADP value. Does he do enough for me? I mean, he's going to be on the field, unfortunately, I think, for Baltimore. So DeAndre Hopkins, come on down. I take so much Zay Flowers. I would rather have Bateman for sure. But Hopkins is probably out there in 3 wide receiver sets. He probably still gets red zone targets, end zone targets. Has been his case for his entire career. Even with KC last year, we had very little left. Hopkins still got out there, so take Hopkins here. And I think now might be time to enter the drafters room because I lose steam at the end of these DraftKings drafts. And frankly, I have no contractual reason to stick with it. So I'm going to join this drafters draft right now. You can see me do it on screen. 10 spots left on drafters. So if you want to get in the final leg of the Try Draft-a-lon here for Tuesday, come along with me. Enter on drafters right now. And we'll wait for this DraftKings draft to finish as well. This guy took AR and Daniel Jones. I think that is effectively a very bad move. Even if you have Josh Allen. This guy, honestly, I have to say, the guy in the 3 hole has been building a terrible team, in my opinion, the entire time. And nothing he did here is going to change that for me. But getting AR and Daniel Jones, like RB bets, you can always make the case that these guys ping pong. They have different roles, different ways that they get there. For Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones, there's only one way they get there, and that's winning the job. I do agree with the concept that like neither one is likely to start the entire year. So playing both could certainly work out, but it's not the way you should use draft capital, especially when you have Josh Allen. You should make the bet. I would say on AR and Josh Allen would be the move because you want AR to be starting by week 17, like taking over for Daniel Jones. I think it'd be the most likely outcome, and that's where the real upside is when you want it, as opposed to the beginning of the year with Daniel Jones and Josh Allen maybe ping-ponging a week or two. So I just don't think it's a good pick by this guy here to take both, and I can see how you talk yourself into logic, but you shouldn't talk yourself into it. Gave your wife the sloppy shootout. There you go. There it's you guys cling on to a phrase and then fall in love, and I respect that about you. Sloppy shootout just sounds like spraying jizz would be, I guess. And frankly, that's what would happen in football too. Can you stop kicking me? You know you have a dog bed, right? Just getting harassed by the dog while on stream is not my fave. She's so fucking big now, so I'll pick her up. She's going to annoy me. Oh, look how big this dog is. Remember when she was like cat-sized? And now she's like 40 pounds. Anyway, go back to your spot. Yeah, that's Kitty the dog, guys, who's been in this room a lot lately, just on camera less because it's hard to pick her up. And, she's not as cute now. She's 6 months old, so she's all fucking old news. She's washed. But literally the neediest dog I've ever had. Like, a good name for her would have been Shadow. If I leave the room for a second, she follows me everywhere, which I know dogs do, but like I've had dogs before. Literally went to take a shit this morning, and she had to sit underneath my feet in the bathroom. So that's where we are dog-wise right now. Love her, great dog. Love a little more independence for my dogs. Love a dog that'll go chew on a bone for a little bit. It's not. I've had to throw like a toy to her like 200 times in the last couple of days. That's with getting like a 3-mile walk as well. So she is a worker breed, a very needy worker breed. Our drafters, 3 spots left. I don't think I timed this out correctly, but hopefully we'll at least make it so I get over to drafters fast. Nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday and what? What the fuck's a Jet 2 holiday? What are these words? Yeah, she is growing fast. She's grown very large. She's bigger than Luca now, which Luca hates. He's like, one day I'm gonna be bigger than her again. It's like, yeah, not for a fucking while, dude. You've gained like 1 pound in the last few months. She's gained 30. So a bit of a different ball game. All right, we got 3 picks left here. 1 spot left on drafters. I completely mistimed this. We'll do both at the same time. Frankly, don't think you guys care that much about my 20th round pick on DraftKings anyway. Probably even less than I do, would be my guess. 20th round on DraftKings getting objectively pretty ugly. And for that second round of drafters promos, you and me both. You and me both. We got to get your drafts in if you're going to get them in. So the drafters room filled. So I'll make my 2 picks here and we'll kind of call it a wrap, I suppose, relatively here on DraftKings. These guys really took up way too much fucking clock in this draft, by the way. This DraftKings draft is meandering along because these fucking guys are spending 30 seconds to make awful picks over and over again. So it's really killing my attention span too. I'll be really perky about it if it happens on the Stochastic stream at 3 p.m. But right now on my stream, I wish these guys wouldn't take 30 seconds to pick Cole Kmet. Be my hope. Shout out to that guy. That guy picked Mostert fast. All right. 2672. We don't need the 3rd tight end yet, but certainly could do it. Not a lot left to love, though. And clock is ticking for me. I'm going to go Ayumanor here. All the Tennessee guys are gone. Somebody took Lockett even, so that's a little bit tough. And tight end is pretty brutal. Arroyo already went. I hate this tier of tight end. I'm going to get a share of Gadsden, I guess. Not crazy about him, but I feel like we've got 8 receivers. I really don't need to spend a lot more capital there. One more RB, one more receiver. All of that's fine. Let's give this team a final read here before I make the last pick. I'm picking at the 101 on drafters as well. So bear with me on there. We're going to go to drafters next. But right now, this team bearing one more pick in the 20th round. We got Jalen Hurts, Jonathan Taylor, Aaron Jones, Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith. So went with the Smith, Jalen Hurts stack. Try to get unique when we had Joe Burrow there. We had Khalil Shakir, Trey McBride. So our Cincinnati, Arizona correlation is there, even if we don't have a QB for it. Travis Etienne, Jaden Higgins, Rashid Shaheed, Cam Scatterbo, Ray Davis, Cam Ward, Cedric Tillman, Roshan Johnson, Chika Conquo, part of our Tennessee stack, DeAndre Hopkins, Alik Ayumanor, and Aronde Gatson, my first share of him this year. On to drafters. Another Jamarr Chase team here. And another fucking... I just fill so many spots. You know what? They say the influential 101, the influencer 101. I got to say, man, having to fill... constantly this year, I'm picking in the 12 spot or in spots like the 1 here. Having to fill 23 picks in between is the worst content in the world. Like, I have enough to talk about to get through it. When you have to keep doing it over and over again, it's a little bit much. So we got to wait another 12 picks here. I guess I'll go back and forth between DraftKings and drafters. Again, never going to complain about getting a Jamarr Chase share. I'd love to get as many as possible this year because Cincinnati, Arizona, I think it'll be probably your most popular Week 17 correlation just based on how the ADPs align and all that. Want to get that as much as I can. That said, is it worth me having to talk for 23 picks in a row? We could keep talking about sloppy shootouts. That's true. We also could talk about Aladdin. I don't know. I don't know why we would talk about Aladdin, but we could. It is a whole new world in best ball every year. We got a bunch of regulars in here, though. We've got SCL Bree in here. Oh, your first entry Bree of the year. Glad to see that. We got I am the KY, Melissa in the chat, M the Great as well. And again, if you want to see when I'm doing drafts, join the Discord. It's the only way to know before I go live. Today, BBM did not have time because it was a snap fill. But in general, when there are spots, I post them there when there are spots. Nothing good in email. I'm looking for anything right now to distract me while waiting another 23 picks. Still got another 10 left here on DraftKings as we balance between our 2 PPR sites. 101's your best off stream. Yeah, I would agree with that. Even the 112 seem to move faster, even though they don't. The weight at the 101 does feel pretty palpable each time. Really, the worst part, though, is just having to wait this long at the end of a draft. And I get why, too. It's like people obviously have to think about it more at the end of a draft. But my God, to spend 30 seconds thinking about Cole Kmet and Jalen Lane, brutal. As a new Commanders fan, Von Miller is a fun, low-risk, high-upside signing. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's funny the team is now one of the oldest in the league. I really don't love the way they've built the team, to be honest. I feel like drafting a young receiver instead of bringing in Debo would be what I would do. Like really trying to build young more so. Young free agents would be more what I'm trying to do. They didn't really do that. I worry about that in terms of longevity. Because I think what they're seeing is like, oh, our championship window is now because we won the NFC title game. When in reality, they should be building like the Thunder do in the NBA. You build around Jaden while he's on his cheap contract and that's sort of the upside. But they're not doing that. So we'll see how it goes. But that would be like, if I'm going to give a worry point for the Commanders as somebody that watched literally every snap last year because of the bets I had on Jaden and McLaurin, and also the other parts of the team as well, but those two in particular, really just think they're going to be, I don't know. It's weird to have a team that old that fast. But yeah, Von Miller on paper adds value. All right. Waiting for these picks to go. Looks like we're going to come up on drafters first because that DraftKings 20th round, you got to really think about it. All right, we got Jonathan Taylor coming back again. What is this? Yeah, why not? 2 RBs. Jonathan Taylor, Bucky Irving start with Jamarr Chase. Jamarr Chase should hopefully cover up some wounds there at receiver, some flaws perhaps. So we got RB Piggy start once again. I'll play the GIF. Doesn't matter the platform, boys. It's an RB year. Gonna do RBs, hopefully smarter than the people on Twitter do. We're doing a lot of RBs this year for sure. And DraftKings, my 20th round pick. I don't even care. We'll pick something. Tutu Atwell, a guy who vaguely has value around in round 20. Crazy that Tank Dell, who is wildly minus money to not play this year, he goes ahead of Tutu Atwell on DraftKings. That's not smart. The other guys here are all awful clicks. Round 20 on DraftKings is like the worst thing in gambling right now, I would say. I'll go Tutu Atwell. He's really the only name here. Like, going through the entire thing, like, who the fuck is L. Wester? I know depth charts about as well as anybody. I do not know who LeJante Wester is and why he has an ADP on him. That would be a bigger question. Luke McCaffrey should be having higher ADP than him. I guess these are all the same ADP, but still awful. RB, Keaton Mitchell's pickable for sure. AJ Dillon, theoretically pickable. Modern guy, theoretically pickable, but not really guys you want. Tight end, Slud, Higbee, and Fannin. You could take those guys. Barner, I guess you could take as well, but anyway. Got a lot of ways to go before we pick again on drafters. Oink Oink Pig, that's true. Hero wide receiver is fun. Nobody's touting that. I mean, the thing is, hero wide receiver should end by round 4 or round 5 if you're doing it. Like, you shouldn't keep taking non-wide receiver positions. But look, at Jamarr Chase, if he's a 101, if he pays off like he's supposed to, he can carry the room a little bit more, and we can get decent guys. You get our Pickens, Metcalf tier of guys at 48 and 49. That's fine by me. I think really Taylor and Bucky, 2 dominant backs. There's only so many dominant backs to get in a draft. It's really the reality of what I think best ball is in this year. Let's talk about the Commanders. Think they have to do it this way to an extent because of how bad Rivera was. Dude missed on every draft pick. I guess that's true, but I mean, they still had draft capital this year. Like, I don't know. Whenever teams build old, I would never really think that's the best idea, but kind of made my point enough already. This Propitsky saying drop while having lunch, assuming Chase goes 1-1, do I vary my 102 selections? For me, I mean, I've got enough Saquon at this point. I actually would like to get more Justin Jefferson, but I'm trying to take the top guys at ADP whenever they are. And if there's a faller, I'm scooping them up. The guys I'm lowest on right now are like the Nico Collins, Brian Thomas tier of guys. Genty, I'm still up on, even though I don't take him as much at this point at where he goes. I've just kind of moved more to Henry and Achane at this point. But I think the 102 for me should be Jefferson, but it has been Saquon for the most part. I think at a certain point, I'll get enough Saquon and Bijan that I'll want to get more Jefferson. But to me, I think right now, Saquon should be ahead of Jefferson as the 102. All right, bunch of receivers coming back, which was the thesis of going 2 RBs at round 2 and round 3. I mean, Rashee Rice was a lot more expensive a couple weeks ago. This is probably not his price floor. I think he might get a little bit cheaper here on drafters, but I think it just makes sense to take Rashee Rice as one of these picks here. And then Metcalf was exactly the guy I had in mind before, who would probably fall to here. Thought it'd be Pickens and Metcalf, but Pickens is here as well. Let's go Metcalf. So a Jamarr Chase, Rashee Rice, DK Metcalf start. Jonathan Taylor, Bucky Irving is our bimodal RB start as well. I mean, obviously with total points format, Rashee Rice, he's probably a less logical click because you're going to miss out on that 4 to 6 weeks, worst case 8 weeks of him being suspended. But I still think him going at pick 48 when he's gone at 20 to 30 for most of the draft cycle on drafters. And drafters is decently filled at this point. Probably like a quarter filled. Looking it up in a different tab here. If it loads. Here we go. All right, so 37,000 out of 140. Let's see. 3-7. No, clear that. About 27% filled. Rashee Rice is going to be a lot cheaper, I guess, for the back half of this draft. Basically, the logic would have been for me more so like, oh, if Rashee Rice has been going at pick 20, let's say, for half the draft, you should just absorb him at a certain point anyway. But I think there might be about 75% of the draft, given that, again, that's what's left to fill. Might be like 75% of the draft with Rashee Rice going in the late 40s to, if I had to guess, when the suspension hits, if people don't like how long it is, 50, 60. I know we've got guys in the community that took a lot of Rashee Rice early. He's really, for the second straight year, just like one of those hard things to pin down for me. But I think in drafters, maybe it was a strategic error to take him at 48. I don't know. Because you're only getting an edge on the earliest drafted 25% of drafts. It's not really enough if that's not Rashee Rice's price floor. And Melissa here in the 11 hole got McLaurin and Jaden. I think that's pretty common for going around the bend. But a nice combo to get for sure. Tough part is that you have to decide then to reach for Debo or not. Also, you're seeing a little, this is like a 0 RB start, I would say, in 2025. James Conner, RB1. Travion Henderson, RB2. Not a Henderson guy. If I had to guess, you're in this range, your backs that hurt people the most, so this is a stand. Chuba Hubbard, I just think is mispriced for what I expect to be if not a full split backfield, split enough with Rico Dowdle, maybe even Trevor Etienne as well in Carolina. RJ Harvey, I have not liked the price tag. It stayed steady. I just think he's got to overcome a lot to beat out Dobbins at this point. And the fact, too, that they brought Dobbins in after seeing what Harvey can do in minicamp and OTAs and Estime as well and McLaughlin, like it was an indoctrination of all those guys. But to bring in Dobbins, I think, was not a great reflection on that. Henderson getting paid his guaranteed money, I guess, is a positive out of the recent developments for him. PPR, I think, could be a positive as well, that maybe he has that James White kind of upside that guys have had in an offense by McDaniels before. There's another fucking tough spot. Godwin and Diggs. I like Godwin. He's not really a big discount. He's falling in ADP right now as well. Laporta gives us the elite tight end or kind of elite adjacent tight end. Let's do Laporta. I hate Diggs. Really hate Diggs as a click. So I'm going to go Godwin here. I run the risk of Rice getting suspended, Godwin starting pupless. The team is behind the 8 ball more than it should be in total points format. But frankly, Chris Godwin in the 70s, I just like as a click more than Diggs. That's not going to change for me. Still like Godwin more than Pearsall, even if his ankle is worse than we realize. Definitely like Godwin more than Shakir. Jordan Addison. Talk me into Addison, but he's also got to get suspended at some point. We're waiting for that. Either way, though, 2 RBs, 4 receivers, 1 tight end. We got Jonathan Taylor, Bucky Irving at receiver, Jamarr Chase, Rashee Rice, DK Metcalf, Chris Godwin, and tight end Sam Laporta. So pretty balanced, not as overly balanced early like we did in the last draft, which I think is going to be a positive for me liking this team more. But as it is right now, 2 RBs, 4 receivers, 1 tight end, and we'll see what we do at QB. 30 minutes to find doesn't have much to do with the stream. Assume my hopes of best ball streams out of you this year is just a pipe dream. What? Oh, baseball streams. Yeah, no baseball for me. I don't have a sponsor for it, and I just don't have the time. So yeah, no baseball for me. It's like best ball streams, you're getting those. But yeah, no baseball. I actually thought yesterday too, I was like, I had enough time to play the baseball slate, and I just couldn't will myself to do it. Too much of my brain power goes to football at this stage. But the Splash Play Bets channel will be back for NBA season, though. I think no matter what. Hopefully with a sponsor. That'll come up. Anyway, this picking at the 101 is sucking the air out of my my room. I just want to make some picks and said I have to like Let's fucking find shit to talk about for this long in between. I know it's like my job theoretically as a streamer, and I can do it. I just want to make some picks. And the 20-second drafts, I have to say, for somebody that has enough millennial ADHD, I really have a hard time going back to 30-second clock picks when everybody uses the entire clock. After being on Underdog's like 20-second clock brain, I just like a 20-second clock is perfect for me. 30 seconds when everybody uses the entire 30 seconds makes me want to off myself. So that's where my brain power is right now. 200 plus drafts in from just the main part of drafting. Overall, I think I'm close to 300 now. I just want fast clocks everywhere, for the love of God. Like it's some of you guys too, when you're on stream, it's like you really want to make sure you're building good teams because people are going to see your name and they'll go, whoa, how's so-and-so drafting? Hopefully well. But I feel like sometimes too, when the streamers, people think about it so much, like, oh my God, we're not playing chess in the park. Let's grab the top guy, call it a day. Oh, come on, Alf boy. I too love Alf. If you spend all 30 seconds to take Darnell Mooney, we cannot share Alf anymore. You motherfucker. Really got to think about this Mooney pick. All right, we got it. We got Bo Nix here. Kyler Murray, neither makes sense. One add to third RB at this point. Jalen Warren, come on down. Tampa Bay bet's pretty big as well at this point with Bucky Irving and Chris Godwin. Baker Mayfield, there we go. See, I'm doing a stream and I made the clicks in 10 seconds. I think my standards are fair to everybody. Teams so far, Baker Mayfield, Jonathan Taylor, Bucky Irving, Jalen Warren. Again, can't starve RB too much, even though we went with our too early. At receiver, Jamar Chase, Rashee Rice, DK Metcalf, Chris Godwin. Needed to add some volume on a receiver, especially that Rashee Rice thing kind of hanging around, but really felt like Higgins, Keon Coleman. I don't think they propped the projection enough to go out of my way to get them here. Tight end, Sam Laporta. I think he just feels to me like a really strong tier break at tight end in terms of upside. So that's really the main thing for me taking Laporta. But if I didn't take him, I could have gotten what? Could have gotten Diggs, Downs, Addison. Meh. I'm boys with Shakir. Always cracks me up to hear people talking about him. Hard for me to pass because of bias. Oh, that's pretty cool. Look, I think he's a good player. Like I like Shakir a lot more though. People didn't realize he was like one of the more efficient receivers in football. Now he's getting paid big money. Now like people think he's a wide receiver one. I think my issue with him is that he's kind of plateaued in that offense. I think in terms of upside, because like I don't know that he's going to command a ton more targets. What was his target per out run last year? 27.5% target per out run, and then you add in Josh Palmer. Keon Coleman should be better. Kincaid got targeted a lot as well. That should come out a little bit more even this year. That's stuff that worries me about Shakir. But again, any guy, like really the money threshold's a big thing. If anybody's getting paid Darnell Mooney money or better, that guy should immediately be on your radar more. I just feel like Shakir as a top 80 pick doesn't feel like Sky Moore to me from a couple years ago, but it doesn't feel like Gabe Davis either to me. Like I think it's still an okay click. I just don't think it's like the hugest upside. I think he'll get you like to me, he's like how I envisioned Christian Kirk last year before that season hit the shitter. But he'll be a guy that gets you 6 to 10 targets a game. I mean, he got 6.6 per game last year, caught 5.1. I think he'll get you in that same range again. Your hope is that he gets you to the highest edge, but 0.6 red zone targets a game. I don't think that gets better with Palmer being added. Another year of experience for Kincaid, another year of experience for Keon Coleman in particular. I just don't know what the upside for Shakir is. This is really the big thing to me. Yeah, consistent 12 to 15 PPR points limited ceiling. I think that's fair. Like I think on drafters, he works a little bit better than most sites because of the total points format, where there are some weeks where like a lot of the stud receivers just strike out. So having a guy that gets you, 10 points, if he gets you 15, great. That keeps you afloat in total points format. For pod format, like he's never really going to give you, theoretically anybody can, I guess, but he's never really going to give you 35-point games with any frequency here. So like you really want those types a little bit more. And I would say in this range, like if you're going to take Shakir, where did he go? Where am I not? Shakir went 81 here. It's like Addison, who went right before him. I think Addison gives you the high point games a little bit more. Jaden Reed will give you them occasionally, but I think Shakir and him is probably a closer bet than it seems. Matthew Golden's pure mystery box. I'm not as sold on him as a lot of people online seem to be. But I think that in terms of if he delivers what people expect, he should be able to give you a higher ceiling than Shakir does. That's the concern point. If Ibuka picks up Godwin work, there's a lot of guys around here that I think could beat Shakir in terms of like a weekly ceiling kind of thing. Take him as a result of being a dog. No, we're just talking Shakir, but I think that's totally fair to take a guy that you know. All right, 4 receivers. I think adding the 4th RB in still appeals to me. Tyjae Spears, a guy I like a lot. Price tag's coming up for him. I'm going to keep scooping him. And then at wide receiver here, we need a guy who's going to project a little bit better. Can't absorb another injury guy in Ayuk. Luther Burden, I kind of worry a similarly slow ramp up. So I'm going to go Marvin Mims here. I think Mims on a PPR site makes more sense. Special teams, touchdowns, also a possibility for him. But really for me, he's the go-to wide receiver 5. If I get him or Christian Kirk as wide receiver 5, no matter what platform, I feel like the team is doing okay. We're on schedule for the most part. Ayuk certainly come playoff time could beat him out, but I can't absorb another injury, early season slow starter guy is really the main thing for me with Ayuk. We got enough with Rashee Rice, maybe some with Godwin. We don't want to risk that. So the team so far is a 1-4-5-1. We got Baker Mayfield as our QB here, stacked up with Bucky Irving and Chris Godwin. At RB, we have Jonathan Taylor, Bucky Irving, Jalen Warren, Tyjae Spears. At receiver, Jamar Chase, Rashee Rice, DK Metcalf, Chris Godwin, and Marvin Mims. And then at tight end, Sam Laporta. I think the team is pretty well balanced. If Rashee Rice were full health, or full go rather, not any suspension risk, and Chris Godwin were full health, I think the team would be spectacular looking. As it is right now, I absorbed some risk, but that's okay. And guys, show some love if you can. If you're watching this video, subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment. Of course, on the march here, doing drafts here across every platform, twice a week right now. Maybe some more to come, but also going to be adding in some short form videos here, talking about training camp news once there's enough for me to get into a rhythm with that. Because frankly, a lot of the stuff is just regurgitating athletic article preview stuff right now and some of the news feeds out there. But soon we'll be hitting those on a regular basis on the channel as well. So subscribe, hit the notification bell, do all that stuff, and you'll know when I put out content. Quinshot Judkins going 127, fair price. The weird part is somebody took Garendo at 123. That feels off. I would probably take the shot at Judkins over Garendo. Frankly, though, for me personally, I've been thinking about this in some of the draft rooms I've been in off stream over the last couple of days. I don't know there's a price I actually want to click Judkins. I think I get the logic why you would. I think it's bad to have a domestic violence thing before you get your contract signed. I think that's a bit of nuance that I think a lot of people who are taking Judkins and going, well, he was going in the 60s now. How could I not take him at 120? He could miss the entire year. He could credibly re-enter the NFL draft next year if things really get weird. And it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, he needs to get his service time. The team doesn't want to give him a contract. So it's a different situation than we've ever had. I think in this situation before, or in a holdout, a rookie kind of deal before. I think Judkins is a lot more risk than anybody's talking about. And I think you guys should be mindful of that. I would not just absorb the Judkins risk blindly. If you're going to absorb it, you better have a good RB room with it. If he's, going to be your Jaden Blue big swing, I think that's fine. We've had, different kind of FUD for Jaden Blue, but still enough FUD that his price tag has fallen a good amount. But I mean, for me and Judkins, he probably has to go more where Dylan Sampson goes for me to want to take him. And he's not going there. So I might end up with very little Judkins. 0.01%. First time I took Judkins and I didn't even realize it was you that took it, Bree. But yeah, okay, that's fair. I took some Judkins on Underdog before. I don't think a lot, though. Really haven't loved the price tags for him and Harvey. Yeah, I've got 5% Judkins. That's actually more than I would have thought. And that Judkins is all, I think, at decent draft capital. So that sucks. Yeah, 5.5% across every tournament. I don't have 0 Judkins, unfortunately. But I will not be dollar costing him down. That's really the main thing for me. It's just like it's really so dumb. Like if he had agreed to his deal, if the guys, the top 10 picks of the second round all got guaranteed money this year, because that's the way it sort of worked out with Tyler Shuck being the breaking point there for a QB, kind of have to pay the QB guaranteed money is basically the way that works. But for Judkins, like he would have had the guaranteed money. He would have been good to go if these guys had all agreed to terms a little bit earlier. And now he's just kind of in no man's land. And like, I think in a very dangerous way if you're a drafter. We're on the clock here. We got to take something. Dog, shut the fuck up. Bryce Young here, we have enough to cobble together with later on. I'm going to try to do that here. Would like to get more in at receiver. Hate Kyle Williams, though. Romeo Dobbs, I think, works better for me than Kyle Williams. Kyle Williams is going a lot cheaper throughout every draft process. I have not been crazy about him. He would have to go for me, like where Pop Douglas goes for me to take that shot and to take it kind of in equal amounts to Pop Douglas. As it is right now for Kyle Williams, I think he's really at risk of being one of the biggest, you're stuck holding a bag of nothing players in this range, like especially at receiver. RB, there's a few guys that you'd be left holding 0 points, like Tootin, I think you'd be a 0 guy. Samson, I think, is really a lot more dangerous to be a 0 guy than people realize, if not even 0, just like not a well-projected player week to week, because Jerome Ford is there. And there was actually an article in The Athletic talking about Hendon Hooker's adjustment from Tennessee to the pros. Came out like I think yesterday or maybe this morning for the Lions. Talk about their training camp and how Hooker's kind of evolved. For Hooker, they were talking about basically how hard it's been for him to adjust from Tennessee's offense that doesn't resemble the NFL at all. It's obviously not the same thing for a QB compared to a running back, a wide receiver, but Jalen Hyatt had the same issues. Jalen Wright had the same issues. All these Tennessee guys keep having that same issue over and over again. Tillman has gotten there, but he was frankly the most like functionally pro level usage that Tennessee has had in the last few years, where he was just an X receiver out wide. Like he didn't do a ton of motion, didn't do all that. But for the most part, like most of the players coming out of Tennessee have had a really big adjustment cliff. So Samson, like, yeah, the opportunity is there for him to get there. I just don't think Samson's going to get there in year one, would be my guess. Not to keep shitting on Breece picks here, but the Cleveland backfield and really Cleveland overall, one of my least favorite clicks as a team, because I don't think the team's going to be very good. Wouldn't shock me if this were like a cleaning house year for Cleveland as well. If things don't run well, they gave Stefanski back more control this year. I don't know if that's going to be good because he has like really no talent on offense. I mean, they spent draft capital, but I don't think they picked up great talent. I just hate Cleveland. And I don't know if people like want to capture the vacant spot. I think it's possible that the vacant spot ends up being mostly useless for Cleveland, for RB play in particular. Like Jerome Ford, I still could see taking shots on. But I hate Samson. Really just don't think Samson's as good of a play as people are treating him now ADP wise. He's coming up so fucking much. Kids chiding me for telling a dog to shut up. I mean, you shouldn't tell anybody to shut up theoretically, but like she literally barks if like Alex is walking around up there. And like, I'm with the dog 99% of the day. So it's like, if I'm doing a call and shit, I don't need her to react to Alex moving around. It's really the biggest thing I have with the dog. She's getting yappier too, like as she gets older, which, we don't want a woman. No, I don't want dogs that bark. Like our neighbor dogs are party poodles and they just fucking bark all the time. If anybody's out dropping off a package, if we're in the backyard, it's one of the worst things. Like easily one thing that probably would have made us not move here if we had like seen the dogs before we moved to the house. I don't want her to be one of those dogs. I don't want her to be a fucking bark at everything dog. Those are the worst kind of dogs. Usually try to give her treats instead, but we're in the studio here, so telling her to shut up is probably it's not as good as a training as I can do. Tillman's the only click I'm somewhat comfortable with in Cleveland. I mean, even that I'm not the most comfortable with, but I agree. And yappy dogs are the worst. It's true. Especially when it's like in the suburbs, which is something I didn't realize is like, having grown up my entire life living in cities, people just don't train their dogs in the suburbs. They just let them do whatever. And like, you kind of have to train the dog a little bit. The very least, like try to correct them and go like, no, like don't, people don't even do that. Not people that like have to cross the street when you're with your dog because their dog is like violent. It's always weird. It's not like in the city either where it's pit bulls. It's just like, oh, my golden retriever can't possibly greet another dog. What are we doing? Train the dog a little. But I think Chris was asking for, Mr. Popinski was asking how Kitty's training is going. fine. She doesn't pee in the house as much. She goes out, but at the same token, she also like jumps on Luka too much still, and that's been tough because he's not trained enough to handle her, which is sort of the issue. Frankly, neither is Alex, but that's a separate issue. We got 2 picks here. One of them's got to be Xavier Leggett. Gets some Carolina correlation in for Bryce Young, who we took as sort of a panic QB click. And you think Braylon Allen rounds out the RB room pretty well. We've got Jalen Warren, Jonathan Taylor, Bucky Irving up top, Tyjae Spears as well. I think we would stop at 5 RBs of this group. So need more at tight end for sure, but we've got a 2-5-7-1 build with Baker Mayfield and Bryce Young at QB. At RB, we've got Jonathan Taylor, Bucky Irving, Jalen Warren, Tyjae Spears, and then Braylon Allen here. So all guys that expect to have partial parts of an RB room, which is the thing that I would say I take a lot more of than hoping rookie wins the job, just because I don't think the rookies in this class are going to win the job. I don't think Tootin's going to win the job. I don't think Samson's going to win the job. I mean, those 2 are the ones on screen right now. I don't think Judkins is going to win the job. I don't even know if Judkins is going to play in the league this year. So I think taking guys like Spears, Warren, and Braylon Allen, can you stop kicking me? I think taking these guys here are the really more of an ideal move to me. Like Jerome Ford, frankly, I like more as a click than some of the kind of shitty rookies around here. Or at least what I would say are shitty rookies. In the burbs and walk some asshole dogs, I think that's true. They just don't get trained. Because, like, there's not a risk of them biting somebody as much as there is, like, in New York or jumping all the time. I get it. Party Poodle sounds like a horribly annoying breed. I'm not a poodle guy either. Poodles are supposed to be really smart and able to be trained as well. So, like, it's more flagrant that they didn't train the dog as much. But it was, like, one of those things where we first moved in and, like, we got, like, these white vinyl fences put in. And part because, like, the dogs we had before, the previous owners had like those fences where it's just like wooden rails kind of thing. The dogs were just like constantly annoying, barking the second we were outside with Luca, but barking at our dogs as well. Putting the white fences up, we thought would stop them. They still can sense you on the other side and they just yap nonstop. And they've also at one point dug a hole underneath. We were like babysitting a French bulldog for one of Alex's friends. And it's like they dug underneath to try to get to the French bulldogs as well. So now we have a gap underneath that kitty and these dogs can see each other. It's the fucking worst, man. Just like people's poorly trained dogs when they affect you. One of my anathemas. So I don't want my dog barking on stream for that reason. I want good doggies. You need to be better. Yeah, you. Here. All right, go back on camera. Oh, she's like too heavy to lift now. From like certain angles. It's like pulling a weight with like your muscle not aligned correctly. Still a very cute dog though. Beautiful dog. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes, I love you too. I love you too. Even though you're so needy. Okay, now you can go back. And that's how we show that despite yelling at the dog throughout the stream, she still loves me. Still loves me very much. Some could say too much. Great teeth too. Brushing her teeth on the reg. 101 dog for a shelter dog, especially. I think she's a particularly sexy dog for a shelter dog. Get out of here. She is very sweet. That's why I feel bad too when I'm like, get your fucking head off of me. But she also so she sleeps in the bed with us. She shoves me all the fucking time. Like she extends her paws out. She's been doing it on stream this entire time as well. She either got to put her head on me, which she's now doing, or she has to like extend her paws out and like lightly shove me. It's like, it's just not conducive. I get like, she wants physical touch. I get it. I don't want physical touch all the time. High ceiling, we can ignore some flaws. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Wish you'd stop biting the kid, though. Scratching him, biting, those things could stop. All right, we got some players we want here. Cade Otton, Tampa Bay stack. Seems like time to grab him. That's easy. A receiver. I think adding Alec Pierce here would give us some more upside. I do like that. Marshawn Lloyd, definitely a tier break at RB, but I think we're good at RB with the guys we have. So let's go Alec Pierce here, take the big swing, about 10 spots after ADP as well. So that'll be our 8th receiver. So a 2-5-8-2 build. We have Baker Mayfield and Bryce Young at QB. At RB, Jonathan Taylor, Bucky Irving, Jalen Warren, Tyjae Spears, Braylon Allen. At receiver, Jamarr Chase, Rashee Rice, DK Metcalf, Chris Godwin, Marvin Mims, Romeo Dobbs, Xavier Leggett, and Alec Pierce. So I think we've got enough now to survive Rashee Rice and take him on as the bonus, even though I do think Rashee Rice is like a riskier click overall, just because of the total points format. Like for a playoff pod, him giving you that 30 points is great. If he misses some extra time, if he gets hurt as well, if that knee is not ready to go, if it stiffens up because he's been suspended for too long, weird things like that can happen. He could absolutely be like a bad click, I think, for total points format. Even if he gives you something that could win somebody all the money for pod-based best ball, which is kind of a weird thing to balance. But it's a Rashee Rice team. And then at tight end, we have Laporta and I forget if I said that part, but making it up at tight end a little bit. Oh, if you don't mind bigger dogs, Great Danes are the best. She's big enough. We were trying really hard to get a dog that was going to be like 25 pounds or so, and Kitty quickly surpassed that in a way that was not the breeder, not the breeders. The shelter doesn't even tell you anything anymore about like what they expect a dog to be. But our vet was like, she's probably not getting that much bigger, and she immediately spiked like twice her weight. So big girls only here. Wife's tiny, so we got to get a fat dog. Dog tries to involve herself in bedroom antics. Dogs do like to lick. Dogs do love smells and fluids. Told your cat to fuck off yesterday. Sometimes you got to. Give them more than enough love to make up for it. But, sometimes you need space. The thing is, she just keeps, like, if I move her over a little bit, she immediately moves her way back. Like, within seconds. And then just, like, inches over. It's fucking whatever. Anyway, this is what we have to do. We have to fill 23 picks in between for multiple drafts in a row. A lot of dog chat. You're a good dog. You know that. I find you to be a good dog. Kyle Monin guy going into the 18th round here. This is going to be an ugly last few rounds here on Drafters. The 20-round format's brutal when there isn't news developing at all. When there isn't even the hope of a Puka Nacua here, it's just people taking shittier players because all the players that have any sort of hope at all are starting to get taken within the normal range of rounds. Like I had the last pick in this draft, and it's going to be an absolute dog shit player because the drafters ADPs aren't even soft late like DraftKings was. There's no Tutu Atwell late. He's here right now. But we've got 8 receivers. Think we want one more tight end at least. Jatavian Sanders will fit that criteria. Give us some more Carolina correlation. Certainly, I would say a potential Noah Fant spot for Carolina. Dog, please. I am begging you to stop putting your head on me. I'm like sweating my balls off here. I don't want a dog head on me. And we got Mayfield, Bryce Young. Nothing else I want to correlate with. Ayumanor. I mean, Keaton Mitchell's still a running back that could do something. I feel like at this point, it's just a luxury pick. But a 6th RB, Keaton Mitchell here. So 2-6-8-3 build. Got 3 tight ends despite having Laporta. We got Cade Otton stacked up with Tampa Bay. Jatavian Sanders stacked up with Bryce Young. So we did get a Bryce double with Leggett and Jatavian Sanders. That works. Jalen Coker still getting drafted in round 18, huh? Noah Brown is free for a reason, Jack. Noah Brown is free because they brought in a guy who's going to take any opportunity that Noah Brown had. If Deebo Samuel does anything, I guess really your Noah Brown out would be at this point that they trade McLaurin, which I don't see how that would happen, but that would certainly be an out for Noah Brown. But besides that, I don't know what the Noah Brown upside is. If you're bringing in Deebo, like really, if they trade McLaurin, Deebo is way underpriced. So that's like the first thing to me. People can think Deebo's washed, whatever. They gave him new money, basically, or converted theoretical money to guaranteed money to move him to Washington. He's playing for another contract as well, ideally from Washington, but I guess could go somewhere else. I think Deebo would end up really undervalued if McLaurin somehow got traded, but I don't know how that would happen at this point. You'd be insane to be an NFL team and trade for McLaurin at this point and then pay him a ton of new money. People want to barely do that with guys under 30 and McLaurin's over 30. Noah Brown just needs 5 Hail Marys to hit your lineup. That's true. He's also like banged up too. Like the way Noah Brown got hurt again last year, then he was hurt in the offseason, and like he was hurt during OTAs, and it seemed like it might be serious, but then they did the MRI, and I guess it wasn't that serious. I'm not like an injury worrier, but I'd want somebody a little bit healthier if you're going to take the shot on like him somehow benefiting and being out there enough. He'll benefit from Dyami Brown not being there, I guess, theoretically. But if McCaffrey's better this year, if Jalen Lane is anything, I don't think he is. But if he's anything, he could take some work away as well. But I think the Debo part is like the big thing to me. I think that entire offense, if I had to guess, runs through McLaurin, Debo, and Ertz, and that, I mean, in that order would be my guess. I think last year they needed a Noah Brown. Frankly, they needed a Dyami Brown. They needed somebody to step up in the wide receiver two spot. This year, you've got the trust with Ertz. You've got Debo coming in, who I think gets schemed a lot of work. A guy KY here takes Tesla. Tesla, for what it's worth, running with the twos so far in camp. With the Lions, you never want to put too much on it. I don't know if you guys remember last year, there was a guy named Doris Fountain, who I feel like all the beat reporters were talking about throughout the first part of July, from training camp July on. So it's like really this point last year through the beginning of August, it was like Doris Fountain, the team thinks can really be something. Doris Fountain, the guy who's making a lot of plays in camp. You know what ended up happening is like he didn't even play during the regular season, didn't get a single target, I believe. That's how that worked out. So for Tesla, him being with the second team right now doesn't matter, but it does seem like Tim Patrick is still safely ahead. So, and Tesla is, at least from the data that I've looked at from college, seems like more of a natural slot. So I kind of think he's more of a contingent play for Amon-Ra St. Brown more than he is a real wide receiver 3. I don't take Tim Patrick either, but I do think Tim Patrick right now running ahead. That's smart. KY saying that's because I talk you off too much, Tim Patrick. I think that's the thing, is like treating them like the same play, taking equal amounts if you want to make that bet would be it. But Tim Patrick safely running with the first team for now, which doesn't really matter. But maybe it does. Pearsall will come off pup in the first few weekdays of camp. That's what I would have thought, but hopefully that'll make the markets not freak out. Shout out Jack, going to jump on a call. Been a pleasure, Spags. Appreciate you guys watching live again. Before you leave, do hit that like button. Do subscribe. You guys know the deal at this point. Show some love if you can. Goes a long way for me here fighting that YouTube algorithm and all of that to do this very niche content for you guys, but hopefully something that adds value here. Nothing else. You can see how I'm gambling and decide to spend your money differently accordingly. Man. All right. So the guys on the board here, Russell Wilson, Kareem Hunt, Estime, Noah Brown, Parker Washington, Deontay Johnson, nothing I like. Josh Reynolds, still a play, probably a play more than any of these guys. Like Josh Reynolds is going to be a starter. I know it's not like fun, especially without Justin Fields, but I'll take Josh Reynolds here as wide receiver 9. So 2693 is going to be our final build here. We got Baker Mayfield, Bryce Young as our 2 QB build. Certainly could have gone 3, but I didn't. Jonathan Taylor, Bucky Irving, Jalen Warren. Should have everything set up for that. Jalen Warren, Tyjae Spears, Braylon Allen, and then Keaton Mitchell for free late in the draft because I just got to do 20 picks somehow. A receiver, Jamarr Chase, Rashee Rice here, who's the one pick that I feel like made the team flow differently than I would like in a total points format. Rashee Rice in a total points format, not an ideal click because he's going to miss an unknown amount of time. But we got DK Metcalf in addition to him, Chris Godwin and his swollen ankles on top of that, his pregnant lady ankles, Marvin Mims, Romeo Doubs, Xavier Leggett, Alec Pierce, Josh Reynolds, all guys who have roles on teams, and that's really the main thing I'm trying to get when I feel like I need to make up some missing Rashee Rice time. And tight end, Sam Laporta, Kate Otten, Javian Sanders. Could have maybe tacked on a 4th tight end, but nobody left appealed to me, so that's how it went. And here's 3 drafts, guys. We just won $4.5 million on stream. Very exciting for me. Go take your shots at that money on Drafters. Go play right there, drafters.com. Download the Drafters fantasy app. Get a $100 deposit match on Drafters right now. And the big thing on there is that it's total points format. That's in my best finishes while only putting in about 30 entries on stream. In the main tournament, 3 entries in playoff best ball. It's been crazy for me, the results I've gotten for Drafters doing that lower volume of entries. But for you guys out there, you think if you're looking to spread your action around, if you got too many BBM entries in, check out Drafters. Do play on there a little bit because number 1, they help present the show. And number 2, it's a good site to play on that has big upside for you if you know what to do in a draft room. So check out Drafters. Check it out. The no pod luck in particular will help you guys out to kind of eliminate that luck component. And of course, check me out on Stochastic today at 3 p.m. It's coming up in about an hour, so I'll do another DraftKings draft on there. Just one draft. Check out the Discord as well. If you join the channel, click the link in the description and join the Discord. Great place to be. It's where I drop all my news updates, my takes on things throughout the day. Guys are doing team reviews. Guys are sharing screenshots. Guys are talking about a lot of stuff on the Discord all day, and you'd be a great fit in there if you enjoy the stream and you enjoy the chat. A lot of guys you like in chat could be hanging out in the Discord, talking shop. Make sure to gamble responsibly, guys, even though it is always money time on this channel as a dog shoves me one more time for fun. But I'll be back at 3 p.m. on Stochastic, back here maybe tomorrow with our first training camp news video, but stay tuned. It's going to come soon. I just got to have enough to put a first video together to care enough about it and do it. That's coming up on the channel soon, too. So watch that. Friday again, another try draft-a-thon. Watch that, too. And I'll see you guys again soon. Enjoy your days. Good luck. Check me out at 3 on Stochastic. And if not, go fuck yourself. Bye, guys.